Hi y'all, good morning from South Carolina. I am on my Santee Cooper road trip adventure, and today we're going to be fishing on Lake Moultrie. And boy, I'm getting a much later start than what I had hoped, folks. I launched way back over there in the corner, about 2 miles away from where we're currently at. And I had hoped to start fishing back there. However, the grass is so thick back there and so tall up off the bottom, I've had to make a long run to get out here to get to some fishable water for us. So we're finally ready to get started. I'm gonna bring y'all with me today, unedited, raw and uncut. Y'all gonna see everything as I fish out here and try to get ready for a tournament I have this coming weekend. So I'm gonna bring y'all along for the practice, y'all. So let's go ahead. We've wasted enough time this morning. I'm gonna put y'all on the chest as we get baited up. And we've got 3 different baits to start with. We've got the chicken breast, which is tried and true out here on South Carolina's Santee Cooper. Man, everybody out here swears by the chicken. I stopped and got some, even though I don't really, y'all know me, regular viewers, I'm not a big fan of the chicken, but we're gonna put it on. I got some white perch and I've got some bluegill, all of which are kind of on the smaller side. So we're gonna have 3 rods we're gonna be fishing with here. First thing, I'm gonna put a different bait on every rod, and while we're actually out here fishing for catfish today, we're also going to be bait fishing. I'm going to drop a bait rod down and try to get us some more perch. If we come across schools of perch while we are catfishing, moving along here, those perch are pretty aggressive. They are, in my opinion, one of the easiest fish on the planet to catch. So we're going to try to load up on those while we are catfishing. So what we're going to do a combination of techniques. We're going to start out dragging 2 baits. We're going to suspend one, and then we're going to suspend our bait rod. So I'm basically, these perch and the bluegill are so small, I've just cut the tail off. I've cut some slits in them here to kind of get them bleeding a little bit. And we're gonna put that whole bait on there. And so I've got that on a 10-aught size circle hook, 80-pound leader. We've got a float and rattle a few inches above the hook up to this is a smaller dragging sinker I'm trying out here today. 40-pound main line, and I'm just gonna slightly toss that back and let it start letting out some line as we move along. I've set our speed here about a half mile an hour to start. And once we get these baits out, I'll zoom in here on the map, kind of show you what the plan is, at least plan B, since I couldn't do plan A coming out here. But we'll get these baits out here first so we can go ahead and try to get us catfish today, folks. That's the goal of coming over here, is to catch us some fish and hopefully have us a good time over here in South Carolina. There's some big fish here. There's some beautiful, beautiful scenery out here. Although we're so far away from land, we ain't gonna see a lot of it today, but it's beautiful country out here, folks. And we're gonna take you all along for the ride. I need to back off my, there we go, that's better. My other dragging sinkers are significantly heavier, so these smaller sinkers, and I bet you this one here ain't pulling off either. You want to set, I forget, the tension knob, I believe it's called. You want to set that for the size of the sinker that you're normally using. That way when you make casts, you're less likely to backlash. And so mine are set for significantly heavier sinkers than what we are using today. So anyway, we'll tinker with that throughout the day, I'm sure, but main thing is we've got them back there now. This rig here is my suspend rig, 8-ounce egg sinker, swivel, 80-pound monofilament leader. We've got another 10-aught size circle hook, and then we've got a Catfish Sumo bait stalker fly a few inches below that one. And so this one that we suspend here, we're gonna run this chicken breast, and this is just plain chicken breast. Got it at the grocery store. We'll drop it down. Right now we're fishing 19 feet deep. So deeper than what I wanted to start, but it is what it is, man. We had to come out here a good ways to get to some fishable water this morning. It's so daggone choked with weeds back there. Back there where I launch, man, I've had to raise my trolling motor up. You see how much higher my trolling motor's up? The motor itself's barely under the water, but I had to do that because the weeds were so far up off the bottom. I was having to stop every little bit and clear the weeds off my motor. So I kept coming out, and you could just see down the water, you could see the weeds. And so I had hoped to start fishing way back there on that flat. Let me take my map and show you here. So, you know, I had put in way back up over here, and I was going to work my way just across this shallow flat, just hoping to drag some baits through the stumps and whatnot, and eventually work my way up here to this little channel. Well, again, it was just so covered in grass, it was just too thick to work through. So I finally come out here, and we got out here deep enough where I guess it's too deep for the grass to grow. So we've got enough clear bottom now we can actually fish. But I'm just gonna take this channel. You see how it kind of gets deeper up here, and you've got these cuts that run in. You've got some old road beds up here, some more flooded timber and whatnot. We're just gonna fish our way all the way up through here. And of course, it looks like it's just wide open because it is. This is a massive body of water. Santee Cooper, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of world-renowned in the catfishing world. Just a legendary fishery for catfish, but it's comprised of two lakes, Lake Marion, which is the upper lake, and Lake Moultrie, which is the lower lake. Both are just massive, and they're separated by a canal that, we gotta flip our bail over here, Lord Almighty. We're pulling baits now that are half a mile behind us. Y'all gotta remember to holler at me today when we got them bails open. But anyway, these two bodies of water, they're massive, they're huge. And catfish could be anywhere out here, so we're gonna have to do some searching. So that's what I'm gonna bring y'all with me today as we search. It's kind of known over here that you need to be fishing shallow. That's what everybody tells me. I've fished Santee Cooper twice in the past, and y'all have got watermarks here on the screen. It's driving me crazy. Let me wipe your face off there while we talk. But both times before when I've caught fish, I've done it shallow. My best fish have come really shallow. So but the weeds are so thick back there, man. I mean, when you're 6 foot of water and the grass is all the way to the surface, how do you fish that? So we're gonna try this today, see how it goes. This is my third attempt here on Santee Cooper this week. I come over early to pre-fish for this tournament, and so the first 2 days have not gone well. So I'm gonna put y'all on the chest here. We're gonna get back on our screen where we can see. We're gonna get our bait rod down, see if we can catch us some perch as we move along. I'll tell you about the previous two. Well, I can't say both days were a bust because I didn't fish the first day I got over here. I checked out an area. I went to, so I was over here 5 years ago now. This time, actually, it's probably about 5 years to the day. I was over here, 2019, I come over here to fish a tournament. My first time ever fishing Santee Cooper. And I fished in a little canal on the lower end of Lake Moultrie here. And the water was down back then. It was down a couple feet, and so it was like maybe 5 feet deep there in that canal. And I caught a bunch of big fish, man. I had a really good time. I dominated in the tournament, won the thing. Like it was a really good experience. Well, I thought coming back over here this time, you're getting ready for this tournament, same time of year, almost to the day. The weather's comparable temperatures, water temps comparable temperatures. I'm like, wonder if that bite's potentially going on again. Well, I go over there and check it. That was what I did day one. Folks, I couldn't even get back there. The weeds were so thick in that canal. Again, with the motor, every few feet I'm having to stop, raise the motor, clear the prop off. And I kept chugging along thinking, well, maybe it'll open up there. It's about 2 miles from where I put in to where I was going to be fishing at, ideally. And I get back there, man, it's just completely choked out. Like it's just, I mean, there's just, you can't even function back there. So I was like, well, scrap that. And so I checked out another boat ramp, but the first day I got out here, the wind was up. And out here, buddy, you look around out here, it's wide open water. If the wind gets up a little bit, you've got some chop. I mean, it don't take much wind at all because everything's so wide open. It's just, it's low out here. There's not hills or anything to block that wind. So when it comes, it gets choppy and it can get rough in a hurry. So I didn't push it there on day one. No, we just called that a bust. Yesterday I went out and I fished on the upper end of Moultrie. There's a ramp that's kind of in a canal. It's a deeper canal. And I'm gonna show you here, before I tell that story, let me just show you my bait rig right quick. For those of you interested, we're fishing with gulp minnows. This is my skipjack rod that I use for catching bait back home. It's a way too heavy a rod for these perch, but it'll get the job done. It's a medium heavy action, 7-foot long bass rod. We got our normal 30-pound braid I use for skipjack, but I've tied on a fluorocarbon leader, 10-pound. I've used sabiki knots to tie on 3 jigs. It's a 1/64 ounce jig with 1-inch gulp minnows on. And I've got them spaced, I don't know, a foot apart, give or take, all the way up the line. And then at the bottom, I've got just a 2-ounce sinker that I didn't have any bank sinkers with me, so I just tied a swivel on and put that on there, and it'll serve the purpose. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drop this straight down. We're gonna suspend this, so that sinker's on bottom now. I'm gonna reel down to it a little ways and raise it up. So now our jigs are running at different depths down there just off the bottom. And so as we make our way along, if we run into any schools of white perch out here, and I suspect we will at some point because they're one of the most predominant foraged fish out here, we put them baits through them schools, man, we're liable to hook up 3 at a time. They're a very aggressive fish. You get a bait near them, they're gonna attack. So hopefully we'll load up on bait while we catfish today. But I did catch us enough yesterday to get us started, even though I didn't do worth a crap catfishing yesterday. Got skunked. Didn't catch a single fish. But I did catch us a little bit of bait to get us going out here today. So we got some perch, we got some bluegill, of course we got that chicken. I'm gonna kick back now that we got our speed set, go down through here about a half mile an hour, just working down this old channel. You got flats on each side. And I haven't looked at the flats this far out to see if they're choked out with grass too, but I would assume they probably are based on what's behind us there. But nevertheless, we'll work this channel out through here and see if we run into some fish, run into some bait, and see what happens. If you're seeing this video, good news, I didn't get skunked because I sure wouldn't post a skunk video. You won't see yesterday's trip because, well, they didn't catch anything. But anyway, I put in up on the upper end of Lake Moultrie. I forget the name of the ramp. I forget what it was called, but anyway, it puts you basically in this canal, and it was a deeper canal, 20 some odd feet. And so I fished that canal, I drifted it. There wasn't any current, but the wind was blowing downstream and it was perfect. So I just used it. I drifted along the channel edge all the way down, about a mile or so. Didn't catch anything. So then I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna get up on a shallow flat beside it and I'm gonna drag some baits. And so I fished from like 3 feet deep to 8 feet deep, dragging. And I was snagged up nonstop, man. All them pulling, when you're pulling through these cypress stumps, Santee has got, and you can't see it so far away from land, but there's all these cypress trees and all these stumps out here on these flats, and so you just constantly snagged. I tried dragging for a little while, and then I switched over to balloon rigs, where I was just suspending under a balloon. I still, the stumps come so high up, I was still getting snagged. So it was a very frustrating attempt, but I didn't do any good with that. So I finished my day. I went over to the other side of the channel, and I got up on the flat over there, and I anchored and I cast baits out. And once again, I didn't do worth a diddly doo-doo. So it was just a frustrating day. And of course, this morning coming out I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little frustrated out here, just because it took so long to get started out here this morning, because I was having to move so slow going through the grass, and I had to get all the way out here before we could even really start fishing, at least effectively, how I want to. So it's not started out well, but the good news is we've got today, we've got tomorrow. So we've got 2 full days basically that I can fish and get ready for the tournament on Saturday. So we still got plenty of time to kind of figure some things out, figure out what bait do we need, what technique do we need to do, what depth do we need to fish at? Because, you know, right now we're 20 feet deep, but it's going to get progressively deeper as we move along out here. And if this is just a total bust today, well, then we will try something else tomorrow. But hopefully, at the worst, we'll at least get some bait out here today. I'll load up on that. But again, you've got information. If you're seeing this video, you've got information right now that I don't have at the present time while I'm filming it, because I certainly wouldn't be pulling or posting any kind of skunk trip. So you know we've had a good morning out here, the fact you're seeing this. But the thing is, whether you have a good trip or a bad trip, when you are fishing a body of water you're not familiar with, and again, Santee Cooper here, I've fished here twice in my life. 5 years ago, I'd come over for that tournament. I'd done really well. And then I think that was 2019, pretty sure. I come over here again, I think in 21 or 2022, I can't remember. But again, I caught some more fish, and that was just like a vacation type trip to come over then. But I caught fish. I had a good time. So my experience out here is very limited. These 2 bodies of water, Marion and Moultrie, they're just so big. It would take you a lifetime to learn every little nook and cranny out here. It's just it's so big you can only cover so much water. So when I'm fishing somewhere new, especially if I'm getting ready for a tournament, a bad trip, I mean, it sucks for YouTube purposes, right, if I don't get a video, but that's still helpful information, because, I go out there and I try to fish that canal where I won the tournament there previously, and I realized, well, it's choked out with weeds. That sucks, but it's good information because I know not to go back there on tournament day. And so if we come out here today and we just stink it up, well, I'll know, again, check that off the list, mark that off for possible place to fish on tournament day. So it's obviously for you, just a personal level, I want to catch fish every time I leave the house. And especially if I'm traveling somewhere, if I'm on a road trip like this, you hate to go somewhere new and get skunked like I did yesterday, man. That's a kick to the gonads. But looking at it just strictly from a tournament perspective, I now know 2 places that I don't want to go on tournament day. And so you just start eliminating water. And when you're breaking down a body of water like this, first off, you don't have to look at the whole shebang anyway. I mean, it's a massive body of water, but let's be honest here. Fishing out of a kayak, most of it's off limit to us because we just can't reach it. Most of my trips, I try to stay usually within about a mile radius of where I launch at. At the most, I might go 2 miles if I think there's a chance I can really get on some fish. So out here this morning, I've come about 2 miles before we're even starting fishing. So this is kind of out of the norm for me. This ain't how I typically do things. But nevertheless, when you've got a massive body of water like this and you've got only so many launch sites to choose from, when you're in a kayak, like you can't fire up your outboard and run all the way across the lake. You're going to be limited to a certain distance, whatever it is you're comfortable with and willing to go from your launch site. And so what I do, this is how I break down bodies of water. I open up a map, Google Earth. First thing I do if I'm going somewhere new. And I will make my way along the river or the lake, whatever it is, zooming in, and I'll look for boat ramps, public boat ramps. I'm going to look for public parks that are along the water's edge that I could launch a kayak. I'm going to look for other places, along bridges, railroad tracks, anywhere where it looks like I could slide a kayak in to the water. I'm going to mark those places first. That's number one. That's the number one thing I'm going to do when I'm traveling somewhere new. Then I'm going to take those launch sites and I'm going to put those over Navionics, contour map of the particular body of water I'm going to. And on those launch sites, I'm going to start looking at places that might hold fish or places I might want to fish that are in close proximity to those particular launches. Because, I mean, here's the thing. You could open up a map of a body of water like this. Let's just take Lake Moultrie, for example, for the sake of this conversation. You could open up a map and pick you out. You could spend a day studying this map and pick you out 10, 15 spots that like, okay, this, I should catch fish here, 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 all that. If you can't get to those places, then you've just wasted your time, right? Because there may not be a launch site within a few miles of those particular places. I mean, I ran into that down there on the Mississippi River when I went to Louisiana a couple weeks ago. There's no launch sites. I'd marked a bunch of places I thought I could slide into, and I think I was 17 places I had marked. There weren't boat ramps, just places I thought I could drop a kayak into. I was able to drop into one. So, you know, when you've got a place like that with such limited access, it don't do you any good to find a bunch of places you think you can catch fish if you can't even get to them. So I'll look for launch sites, number one. Then I start looking at places that I could catch fish around those launch sites. And then once you actually get to the water, then it becomes a process of elimination. You get out there, you explore a little bit, you start trying to dial in a pattern. What technique, what bait, if you're trolling or dragging baits, what speed is it going to take to trigger a bite? You know, things like that. And if you can fish for 2 or 3 days leading up to a tournament, you can kind of at least figure out some stuff. You're going to process of elimination. You get some information, both good and bad. Like yesterday, bad day, I skunked, but I knocked out that boat ramp, right? Like I just completely ruled that off my list of potential places to go because I kind of done it. I tried it all yesterday. Like I said, I started out drifting that canal, suspending baits, using the wind to propel me. I didn't do any good. I got up on the shallow flat. I tried dragging and I tried suspending baits under balloons. I didn't do any good. And then finally I ended up, I anchor fished. So I was setting still, casting baits out. I didn't do any good. So I feel like between the depths I covered, the techniques I covered, I feel good about, now somebody may go in there on tournament day and dominate. That's always a possibility. But for my needs, because wherever I end up on tournament day, you got to have confidence in where you're at and what you're doing, right? Like that's very important on confidence is the number one thing in fishing, in my opinion. Because if you ain't got confidence, you ain't gonna stick with what you're doing long enough to actually have some success with it. So you got to be confident what you're doing, and I'm confident I don't need to be there on tournament day. So anyhow, that's kind of how I'm breaking down new water. That's my thought process. That's what I do. It may be beneficial to some of you, maybe it won't be. But we out here today, we're gonna make the most of it. It's a later start than I wanted, but I ain't got nothing else to do today. So we might as well, that's the beauty of traveling somewhere. You know, when I fish at home, I go out and I fish for a few hours. There was a big splash right over there. I go out and I fish a few hours though, and there's always something hanging over my head. There's something I need to do at home. I got to get back and let the dog out. Maybe I got plans with the girlfriend that night. Like there's always something that something hanging over your head, something you got to rush home to do or get done. You come out here on a road trip, I'm out here by myself. I got nobody else to cater to or answer to. I've made arrangements for the dog. My parents are watching the dog. A girlfriend, she's got to work, so she ain't over here with me. So like I can come out here and I'm getting a later start today. Ain't a big deal because I've got nothing else to do. What, go back to the hotel? I don't know about you. It's a decent hotel, but I ain't looking to just hang out there. So yeah, we get out here and just kind of carefree and kick back, relax as we drag our way along and suspend our baits here, and eventually, hopefully, we're going to run across some fish. But Santee Cooper, y'all, it's a different style body of water than what I have back home. There's certainly no lakes like this back home that's this big and this exposed to the wind and has the amount of just shallow stump flats that this body of water has. So it's a completely different body of water than what I am accustomed to. And and I won that tournament there 5 years ago, or here I should say. But it's still, it's not my comfort zone. It's not how I mean, like right now, for instance, we're fishing kind of deep for what people typically fish out here on Lake Moultrie. Most people running shallower than this, but I'm suspending baits still 20 foot of water. I don't like suspending baits. Usually 20 feet and less, I don't like suspending baits, but we're trying it out here. We're dragging, which I do like to drag, and I will drag in shallower water than what I will suspend, but still, this body of water, I just don't have a great deal of confidence. What I like doing, my strengths as a catfisherman, this place doesn't play into those strengths. I feel, I ain't trying to toot my own horn or anything. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or boasting, but I feel like one of the things I'm pretty competent in is reading a contour map. I can open up a map in a river or a reservoir that has some flow. I can open up that map and say, okay, there should be catfish here, 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 here. And I know if I put enough time into those spots, I'm probably going to get bit. And so I have a lot of confidence in that. Again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I feel like I'm pretty good at picking out those locations on a map, on a river or reservoir. And so if I go somewhere new, I haven't been there before, I feel like there's still a pretty good opportunity for me to catch fish just based on my skill set. But a place like this, where you've got these just giant flats and a lot of the fish are caught real shallow here. I'm a deep water fisherman. I like fishing deep structure. It just doesn't play into my strengths. So because of that, I don't have a great deal of confidence on this body of water. I have to kind of get out of my comfort zone, like yesterday when I'm up dragging baits in a area 3 to 8 feet deep. I mean, you don't see me doing that on my channel. There's a reason for that, because I don't like doing it. It ain't my cup of tea. But sometimes you go somewhere new, you got to adapt. You gotta try to do what it's going to take to catch a fish on that body of water. And so we rolling with it, man. We rolling with it. And you and me, we out here, we in this mess together today. So let's get this. We picked up some grass here on this line. Let's see if we can get that off there. That grass is something else, folks. It is choked out with grass. I don't know what they really do, if anything, to manage the trying to feel these sinkers that I'm using. I'm trying these sinkers. They're really light, like 1 ounce. My heavier ones, I can certainly feel them. I can feel them on the bottom. They're dragging and coming across stuff. And these, I don't. There it is. It's tough to know for sure, but my other sinkers here, I've got them. We may end up putting them on. I thought, I got these lighter ones. I thought they might come through the stumps a little better than my heavier ones. I normally like heavier dragging sinkers when I'm fishing an area that I know has a lot of mud, because those heavier sinkers, as you pull them along, the heavier weight's kicking up more mud, kicking up a dust cloud. I want to create a trail as I drag along, not just a scent trail from my baits. I want to create a dust trail of fish can follow visually. I want them to smell the bait or taste it, whatever it is they do, to pick up on the oil and the blood. And I also want them to visually see that dust cloud, like a carp or buffalo that's down there along bottom feeding. I want them to see that. And those heavier sinkers do that a little more than a lighter weight sinker. But I thought the lighter weight sinker might pull through stumps and whatnot a little better, because I mean, yesterday it was just so frustrating to be snagged up so much. Just incredibly frustrating. I don't like getting hung. And most of the time, the way I fish back home, especially if you see me suspending baits, and always when I'm anchor fishing and I'm suspending baits, you just don't get snagged. Your baits are above any snags. So to come over here and not, be used to not getting snags and then just stay snagged all day yesterday and not be catching any fish. It'd be one thing if you're getting snagged up a little bit but catching fish periodically, but to just get completely blanked yesterday, man, it wasn't an enjoyable night back at the hotel last night. I was stewing in my own juices, is a thing that my girlfriend likes to say when I'm in a bad mood. So today's gonna be a better day. I woke up, got a good night's sleep, got up on the right side of the bed today, come out here with a positive attitude, even though things didn't start out particularly great with where we're having to start fishing and how much time we've lost. We've got all daggone day. So we're gonna take advantage of it. Now, Ryan Boards, my friend Ryan, he's over here pre-fishing for the tournament too. And of course, it's tough to say when you got a tournament that you're getting ready for. There's oftentimes psychological warfare that goes on. You play mind games with each other. Maybe you ain't on fish, but you want to project some strength, that you lie to people. And you say you catching fish when you ain't. Or vice versa. If somebody knows where you're at and you had a good day, like, no, man, I didn't do any good out there. I'm gonna hit a different spot tomorrow or a different spot for tournament day, because you don't want them coming out there. Like, so there's a lot of mind games we play with each other, right? Well, Ryan called me yesterday evening. Him and Chris Minahan was fishing together. And he said, boy, we tore them up all day. And of course that sticks in my craw because I know I got skunked yesterday. But he said, yeah, we tore them up, caught a bunch of fish, and Chris had got like a 50-pound flathead and all this stuff. And so he's either telling the truth or he's lying. And it's tough to say either way because, I mean, it's tournament situations. So you don't know. So I ain't putting a lot of stock into it, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did, because both of those guys, Ryan especially, he loves pulling planer boards. He loves dragging baits and pulling planer boards. And if you can find some of these flats that ain't just covered in grass, or you get out in an area like here, one of these little cuts that we're in, you can spread them baits out, and like pulling planer boards is kind of, in a body of water like this, that is a very effective technique. And so I'm definitely, again, this place, it doesn't really suit my skill set so much, but it does kind of suit some of the other fellas that I'm going to be competing in the tournament with. It leans into their skill set. So, you know, we all got things that we like to do, things that we're good at. And I just hate pulling planer boards. I'd rather take a swift kick to the balls about 3 times a day than have to pull planer boards. I've said it for years. If I got to pull planer boards to catch catfish, I'd just quit. I'd just find something else to fish for. So I don't want to do that. And it may bite me in the tournament too. But here's the thing. So this is our final tournament of the season. And I brought my measuring board out here with me today, by the way. If we catch any fish, I don't normally carry it with me when I'm not in a tournament, but I got it today because this parking lot, I don't know it. And it seems like a good place if you're the only vehicle there, which I was. It seems like a good place to steal a catalytic converter and bash out some windows. So I went ahead and brought my board with me. Not that anybody would want to steal the board, but let's be real, people will steal anything. So it would suck, drive all the way over here and not be able to fish a tournament on Saturday because my board got stolen. So anyway, it's with us. But this tournament, it's our last tournament of the season. And right now, I'm leading the points race for Angler of the Year, which is a nice payday. First place in the Angler of the Year points race is $2,900. Second place, I think $1,300 or $1,350. And the worst I can finish is second place. Either I'm going to win Angler of the Year or Ryan's going to win Angler of the Year. One of us two. But I'm 1 point ahead of him. And so Angler of the Year, it takes our 5 best tournaments. If you win the tournament, you get 100 points, second place 99, third place 98, so forth and so on down. If you get big fish of the tournament, you get 2 bonus points. So here's how it would have to work out for Ryan to beat me. He either has to win, if he wins or gets second place, that would bump him up ahead of me. If he gets third or fourth place, but he gets big fish, he would jump over me. So, in theory, I could finish dead last in this tournament and still win Angler of the Year because, again, it takes our 5 best tournaments. So if this one is a complete dud for me, I could still walk out of here on Saturday night with a big check, potentially, depending on how Ryan does. It's all dependent on him. Now, if I finish ahead of him, if I win, then I kind of control my own fate in that. There's no way, if I win, there's nothing he could do to pass me. So it's a tight point race going down the end. My 5 tournaments that's on my score right now, I've got 3 first places and 2 second places. And in 2 of the first places, I also got big fish. So I got those 2 extra bonus points for each of those events. So I'm at 502 points and Ryan's at 501. Adam Fliegel's in third, but he's like 6 points behind me. And so even if he got first place in big fish, he would still be 1 point behind me. So he could technically end up in second place depending on how Ryan done. And I don't know how their tiebreakers would work out. I honestly don't know how the tiebreakers would work out between me and Ryan, and that's a real possibility that could happen. So a lot of things could shake out here on tournament day, folks. But either way, worst case scenario, I completely just crap my pants on tournament day, finish dead last or something. The worst I can finish in the Angler of the Year is second place, which is going to cut me a check for either $1,300 or $1,350. So I'm turning a profit on this trip regardless. But I would like to have a good showing. Technically, I'm undefeated in tournament fishing in the state of South Carolina. I've only fished one tournament here previously, but by gosh, I won it. So I'm telling people I'm undefeated. I'm actually undefeated in the Carolinas too, because I've fished one tournament in North Carolina last year on Kerr Lake and I won it. So technically I'm 2-0 in the Carolinas, buddy, and I'm telling all these Carolina boys about it too. I'm gonna run my mouth until I come out on tournament day and just completely do just lousy out here and ruin it. But I'll tell you what though, with how yesterday went, and the fact I know now I can't go back to where I'd won it 5 years ago, because I thought, man, I was excited. I was like, this tournament, this time of year, there's probably a good chance there would have been some fish in that canal that I wanted at previously. Like, it's because of the time of year, the water temperatures, all that. Like, it was going to be, because you can repeat a bite on a body of water oftentimes. If the conditions and time of year, if everything lines up the same, you can oftentimes pattern that and hit it year after year after year if you figure something out like that. And so I just knew for sure I was going to have a chance. Like, that was going to be my backup. I wanted to go out there and check it out day one, make sure that it was fishable and try to get a fish there just for confirmation, but that was going to be kind of my backup, right? Like, then I was going to spend my rest of my time here hitting new spots, new places, doing different things, and see if I could get on a better bite than what I thought I could get there. But since I can't do that, since that spot is completely rule that out, well, now it's like, okay, well, I don't have my cushion now. I don't have my safety net. Now I got to get out here and really try to dial some things in. And so I don't know. I don't know if this is a smart move to be where we're at or not. There has to be some of these flats somewhere that ain't just covered in grass. So I don't know. Again, I don't like fishing super shallow like that. It's not my comfort zone, but I'm willing to get out of that comfort zone if I have to. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it to try to win. The thing I'm most excited about coming over here is I'm finally going to get to see this new kayak, the Bonafide XTR. Y'all regular viewers, you've heard me talking about it now for hell a month or more, probably. Maybe 2 months. Our tournament director bought one, and he's bringing it over here. So I'm going to finally get to see it in person and take a look at it, hopefully set in it, get some measurements on things, try to figure out how I'm going to mount rod holders to it. That's definitely a concern with that kayak. Then when I get back home, the shop that I'm going to buy that kayak from, assuming I end up going with that one, which I think I'm going to, unless I just find some flaw in it that I just can't deal with. But the shop that I'm going to get it from has them in stock now, finally. And so when I get back home, I'll pick a bad weather day there at home and drive up and get it. And so hopefully be in that kayak at some point here. It'll take me a little time, even after I get it, to get the rod holder situation figured out. You know, I've got to put those on before you can go catfishing. So it'll take me a little time to get everything rigged out how I want, but hopefully within the next month I'll be doing some fishing in it. I know y'all tired of hearing about that kayak and whatnot, but it was, Bonafide had initially said they were going to release that kayak in September. And they did, but they waited till the end of September. And then the hurricane hit, and they shut the factory down. And so it delayed some of the shipments going out, which the dealer, I was going to buy it from Raccoon Creek Outfitters there in Ohio. It delayed them getting it. And so they just got them in stock a couple days before I was leaving to come here to South Carolina. And so I didn't want to fool with going and trying to get it before this trip because I knew I wouldn't be able to get it rigged up in time to bring it out here. And I honestly didn't want to really, I'd like to get some seat time in it, get some trips in it before I use it in a tournament. Because I mean, most likely it'd be okay, but you want to get some, I do anyway, I want to get some seat time in a kayak on the water, see what I can and can't do in it before I go and try to put it in a tournament situation where I am more likely to make a mistake or to try to do something stupid. Or if there's money or ego on the line, and there was a big splash over there. Anytime in life, I don't care if it's fishing tournament, anything else, any other kind of competition, event, whatever. If there's money or ego on the line, people are going to take more chances. You're going to be more likely to make a dumb mistake. Like there's just something about money and ego that just, I guess it brings out the worst of people. I don't know. But if I'm in a kayak I'm not comfortable with and I'm in a situation, maybe I got a big fish on, he's barely hooked, I try to wrestle him in and I lean too far in the kayak or something. Next thing you know, you're in the water, the kayak's upside, that's where mistakes are going to happen. So I would just feel better about getting a few trips, just regular fishing trips in, before we put it in a tournament situation. So anyway, we'll hopefully have it on the water here within the next month or so. I've also got to get my trailer situation figured out. I'd ordered that trailer from Fish, Texas. It's a really cool kayak trailer design they have. I put that deposit down on it back in July. I was told at the time it would take 90 days. They were about 90 days out at the time. Well, we're beyond the 90 days and I still don't have the damn trailer. And I'd reached out to them before I went to Louisiana, I believe. Yeah, it was before I went to Louisiana, I reached out and inquired about it. And the fella said that they were hoping to start the build on October 20th. I believe it was, he said. Well, here we are. We're well beyond October 20th, and I've heard nothing from them. So I have no idea if they've even started it yet or not. I get back home from this trip, South Carolina, I'll probably be that guy and pester them again with another call to say, hey, what's up? If I get back home from South Carolina and they still haven't started it yet, I may just tell them to shove it, because I understand they got a lot of orders and whatnot and they get behind, that happens. I get it. But when we're beyond the 90 days that I was originally told and I can't even get an update, I'm starting to get a little irritable with it. I like the trailer design. I really do. The stepping platform that you can walk down each side of it so you don't have to wade out into the water to push your kayak off if you're on like a really kind of shallow incline of a ramp, or especially the time of year we're getting ready to go into back home. You get about mid-November, the water level starts to drop back home where I fish Tennessee River. they lower our water level down for winter drawdown. And when they first lower the water, they normally drop us down 6 or 8 feet, I guess. But when they first drop it, the boat ramps, they're all covered in mud and algae, right? And now that's exposed, it's out of the water. And so, man, those ramps are just treacherous. They are slick as lightning, man. And so it would be nice to have this trailer that I could step up on and walk all the way down the trailer to shove the kayak off and to load the kayak, so I don't have to risk busting my hind end as I'm putting in at these ramps that are just slick as all get out. And so I'd hoped, I'd kind of, in my mind, back in July when they told me 90 days, I'm like, well, that's fine. I'll still have it at least before, I'd hoped to have it before this tournament to be able to use it, but I thought I'll at least have it before they drop our water back home. But now I'm not so certain, because I don't even know if they've started it. I don't know how long it takes them to build a trailer, and then I don't know how long it's going to take to get them to ship it to me once they get it, because they're in Texas. Now, I'm in Tennessee, so it's, I don't know, 15, 18-hour drive. I'm certainly not driving down there to pick it up. So I don't know how long that's going to take. Got a lot of unknowns about this trailer, but I'd ideally like to have it for the new kayak, because that Bonafide is going to be so heavy. And the trailer that I haul this kayak on, I've already got it set up, the bunks and everything for this particular kayak. What I'm planning on doing is, once I get the new kayak and I sell this one, I'm going to sell the kayak and the trailer just all as a package deal. I've already got the motor up here sold. One of the guys in the tournament group, he's going to buy the motor off this thing. But I'd like to sell the kayak and the trailer just as a package deal. And I don't want to have to take this kayak off, adjust the bunks for the new kayak, and then 2 weeks later get the trailer and then have to redo what I just undone. So I just wish they'd hurry the hell up. I'm impatient, y'all. I've waited the 3 months patiently. I've been a good little boy, and now all I want is an update. Just tell me. If you're still behind, say, hey, Justin, sorry, such and such has happened. We're going to have this delay. I don't like being left waiting. So I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be a good little boy. Trying not to. I have a tendency to get angry when I say things, and I don't want to do that. They hold all the power right now. They have my deposit. I'm on their timeline. Me calling and showing my ass ain't going to get anything done any better. So, but if they still ain't even started by the time I get home, I probably will tell them to shove it. Just refund the deposit, and I'll try to either try to find another trailer that I like, or go to a local person and show them the design of the other trailer and try to get them to replicate it best they can. I'm going to lower this bait down, or bait rod down. I'm surprised we ain't got no perch. Really surprised about that. Lower our chicken down a little bit too. There we go. All right. Everything adjusted. We're 22 feet now. So, how long have we been at this here? Lord almighty, we've been at it almost an hour. Ain't even got a bite. Figure half a mile an hour for an hour. We've covered about a half a mile, roughly. That's no bueno, folks. Got all our bases covered with bait. some people probably ask, Justin, why aren't you using skipjack? Why don't you bring any with you? Well, South Carolina, skipjack are not a native species here. So they are not a legal bait. Now, I know people that have brought them over here to use them. I know people who have, from here, who have bought them and had them shipped here to use, so it gets used. There's another fish here, I believe it's called American shad or hickory shad or something like that. One or both of those fish look very comparable to a skipjack. So if you had skipjack, you could always play it off like you were using one of those other type of fish, but I'm not going to risk getting a ticket over it, and especially doing what I do here on video, I already have enough people after me just trying to bust my balls any chance they get, so I have to be above board anytime I go somewhere. I got to make sure I'm abiding by the laws and to the letter, you know, so I'm not going to, even, and I wasn't doing very good catching skipjack back home before I left, but even if I was, I wouldn't be using them over here. So yesterday I made some casts and got bluegill and the white perch to kind of get us started with, and I bought that pack of chicken there just because, I mean, everybody in South Carolina, man, this is a popular bait over here. Some of them use it plain, some of them put it in Kool-Aid or garlic powder and mix it up, and they've got all these fancy recipes and concoctions for it, and it's just popular bait over here. The second time I fished here, I can't remember if it's 21 or 22. But regardless, so we went back, me and Palmetto Cats, Kevin Lake and Palmetto Cats YouTube channel. We went and fished that spot that I had won the tournament on in 2019 from the bank. I pulled my kayak up on the bank. He took his boat out there and pulled it up on the bank. And we fished. And the biggest fish of the night, and it was a good one, come off chicken. Kevin had fished with chicken. And so, I mean, this fish will eat the chicken out here. I think it's because one of the big food sources for these fish is mussels. They apparently got a lot of freshwater mussels out here. And any body of water that's got a lot of mussels, chicken does seem to work a little bit. Okay, we got a fish finally. We finally got one here, folks. Oh, he's pulling too, buddy. He's pulling. He's taking some line. I can't remember what bait this was. I can't remember if this was the perch or the bluegill. Boy, he really nailed it, though. I mean, he nailed it, buddy. He was taking line. He's coming right at us now. Okay, there, I'm finally caught up with him again. He was swimming right at us. He nailed it, hit, and just took off the other way. Then he turned and just started coming right at us. It's good to finally catch something. He's still just coming at us full speed here, man. He is. I don't want him getting up there in that bait rod. That's a good fish. Goodness, man. This fish is fired up, y'all. He's excited that I'm over here. He wanted to get on video today. I don't know why it took, he's that excited. I don't know why it took him an hour to show up for our show here, but by gosh, better late than never. 22 feet deep here where we're at with this one. Cannot remember if this was the bluegill or the perch. Let's see what we got. I saw the tail, it's blue. He is still fired up. It's a good fish. Oh, lordy days, he splashed me good. Oh boy, he got me good. Did he get y'all? I bet there's water all over the camera right now. We're gonna play this one out a minute before we bring him in. He's all fired up, buddy. He's ate his cornflakes this morning. I had me some Raisin Bran before I left the hotel. He's had a full belly and good night's sleep, buddy. I need this fish and 2 of his comparable size friends on tournament day, and I might have a chance at holding on to that Angler of the Year. I'm gonna play him out a little bit longer, folks. I ain't trying to. It's a fairly warm, it's comfortable today. It's like 70 degrees, which is nice. You get this late into October here and you get 70 degrees. This is nice. I think today's Halloween, actually. Is today the 31st? Let me look at my phone while we're playing this fish out a second. Yeah, today's the 31st. So, oh, he got in my bait line, I think, just then. He either got in my bait line or we got something up there. We might have us a bait on there potentially. Let me see if he's in it. That's a good fish, man. That's solid. I'm gonna put him back a second. I think he can tire himself out in the rod holder. Let's see if we got some bait. Oh, we do. Good. That's a nice sized perch right there. Good deal. Well, just like that, folks, we waited an hour to get a bite. No, that ain't a perch. That's a striper. Yeah, that's a striped bass right there. I'm pretty sure, ain't it? Is that a baby striper? I'm pretty sure that's a baby striper. Hold on, y'all. We gotta. Do I have another? I thought I had. Let me pull out my another perch here. Yeah, he's got the line. That's a baby striper. Boy, I about really done it then. If I put a undersized striper in the cooler, can y'all even see it, or y'all covered in water? Y'all didn't get any water on you. Yeah, baby striper right there. Okay, well, baby stripers like gulp minnows too. How about that? Get that weed off there. I'm gonna send it back down. Hopefully, eventually, we're gonna come across some perch down there. Okay, now what do you say we finally land our big fish here? Get my crusty old glove. This thing's about had it. We'll make it work though. Come here, fish. You're whooped now. I've had enough of you splashing me and acting this way. It's time you show these people watching at home some respect, fish. You shouldn't act that way on video. This thing's a slob, man. This is a really good fish. I think it's a female. It's got a really small mouth for its size. Okay, okay. Come on in, come on in. Nice. Nice, y'all. Man, that's a good fish. I knew when it hit it and was taking that much line, that much drag, like this is a good one. It did not disappoint. Get the hook out. There we go. Oh man, y'all, look at that. Look at that. Here's what let's do. Let's set our board up a second here. We got it. Keep it from getting stole out the car potentially. My catalytic converter may be gone, but we'll have her board. Let's just set this thing up here and see what do you get a length on. He's fat for his size, I'll tell you that. Yeah, folks, that one there, I don't know if you can see there, he'll cross 40 inches. Look how fat that thing is, though, buddy. That is a heifer. Let's put y'all up here in the front seat, would you? Take a picture of me and this fish, would you? If I can get that camera. Okay. Oh, boy. Let's see. Can't get that thing to set right. My camera mount's messed up, y'all. There we go. Yes, I'll fist pump this one, buddy. Yes. Some redemption from getting skunked yesterday, buddy. This took us an hour to hook into one, but by gosh, when it happened big. All right. You ready to go back home? Will you tell your friends where I'm at, fish? I've come a long way to see you. I want to see all your friends. He about took my glove off, or she. Unreal thing. Yes, y'all, that's encouraging. I mean, we've not seen hardly nothing diddly poo here on the screen as we've been trolling along, but man, that's 40-inch fish, folks. You get 3 like that on tournament day, you're in contention. And so you figure tournament's 8 hours. If we could average 1 fish an hour, 1 fish every 2 hours, it don't matter. We just need 3 on tournament day. So this spot, after that, we'll see how the rest of the morning goes. But now this spot definitely has some potential for being a potential tournament spot for us on tournament day. So yes, buddy, I'm pumped up about that. Y'all are gonna be hearing me go on about that now. That's awesome. I'm gonna close our board down, just get it out of the way a little bit. I'll leave it open on tournament day, but right now it's kind of in our way. I want to know, I don't want to reel in the other bait, but I want to know what we had on. For the life of me, I can't remember. I think it was the perch. Seems like I put the perch on first. Going off the left. I don't remember, folks. We're gonna roll with the perch, I guess. I don't want to reel the other one in. It's not been hit yet, so I hate to reel it in, take it out of the water, especially if we might have more fish potentially around. I mean, what if, you really think that fish right there was alone? I doubt it. So, we'll do the same thing here. I'm just gonna cut off the tail, get some slits cut in it here, just make it bleed a little bit. Creating the scent trail. Probably not running much of a dust trail behind this thing with this lighter sinker right here, but these were give to me. I thought I'll put them on, try them out, see if they'd pull through the stumps a little better, although we don't really have any stumps out here where we're fishing at right now. Spoiler alert though, nothing pulls through the nothing pulls particularly well through them cypress steps. Nothing. I mean, it's pretty much, you run up through them stumps, you're either going back for it or you're gonna just break off and lose some gear. It can get frustrating quick. You can go through some tackle out here, that's for dang sure. Man, I'm pumped up over that fish, y'all. That's a good fish. I mean, that's, when you get a 40-inch class fish, and weight-wise too, I mean, that was a heavier, for those of you that care about a fish's weight, like that was a heavier fish. I didn't weigh it. I don't weigh any fish. I think weighing fish is stupid, but for its length, I mean, it had some girth. That's what she said. So, look at all this up here, right here under us. Is that shad, you think, or is that perch, potentially? I wonder if I shouldn't raise my bait rod up higher in the water column. If that's perch, we're fishing at the wrong depth. Oh, crap. Here I talked about getting hung, and what do we got? We got a snag. Oh, man. Oh, y'all are snagged good. Here's what I'm gonna do. Since we were curious about which bait was which anyway, let's just reel this one in that we just put out. We'll run back there, see if we can pull it free, and get started again. Takes a little bit more time. Oh, hell, look at that. We had another one on, I didn't even know. That's another striper, though. That's another one of them baby stripers. That's not a perch. It's an ideal bait length. I bet you we could catch a catfish on that, but I'd undoubtedly get me a hefty fine, I'm sure, for an undersized striper. I don't know what the length limit is on stripers, honestly, but I'm sure there is one. Undoubtedly. Okay. Let's go back here now and see if we can get you all snag free. Just talking about these damn sinkers, hopefully pulling through the stumps a little better, and I'll be damned if we didn't find one. I may go ahead and put one of my other sinkers on too. Maybe try one light sinker and one heavy one. If we get this rig back, the positive thing is we'll at least know which bait is which. And since I'm focused on it, I'll be able to remember it next time. I was talking to you all, getting the video started there first thing, and wasn't paying attention to which was which. I'm pretty sure it was the perch on the left. I don't think we're gonna get out of this anyway, though. It feels solid down there. There it comes. Yeah, that one had the bluegill on. All right, let's get back over here. And let's get our speed reset. We'll push the course heading. I'm gonna push the speed thing, and that'll knock us down to 1 mile an hour, and I'll adjust it down after that. Yeah, let's do one heavy sinker and one light one. We'll keep the light one on the other rig there. Let me get one of my others. These here, these are the ones I make. They're longer. They usually pull through stuff pretty good, but nothing pulls through wood. In my opinion, nothing. Hold on. I pulled the clip off the sinker instead of off the swivel. I'm all discombobulated. I'm still excited over that fish, what it is, folks. There we go. Now let's put this on. There we go. Okay. Now let's slow us down. Let out some line on that one. And let's toss this one out. Okay. Once the kayak slows down, we'll drop our suspended baits back down. So we know now for sure that big fish came on the perch. Basically a whole perch, tail cut off. We know baby stripers seem to really like gulp minnows. They seem to be 2 of them now. So you know what, hey, that's 3 fish. We're at least getting something. I'd rather have, and this is the only time you'll ever hear me say this, I'd rather have some white perch though than the stripers. Can't do nothing with them baby stripers. If we wasn't filming and I was a dishonest person, I bet I could find a catfish to feed them things to. Lord, you done got backlashed on this one. We adjusted our spool tensioner. We loosened it for the lighter sinkers, and now I've backlashed putting this one out. Went from one problem to another, didn't we? We just a mess out here, folks. It's a wonder I could ever catch a fish at all with how I mess things up like this. There we go. Okay. Down we go. If nothing else, we'll at least have one. We'll have one sinker down there kind of heavy, creating a little bit more of a mud trail, while the other one, a little bit more, maybe finesse, you'll call it. Let's drop our gulp back down. I'm actually going to let out some more line on that too. So move along here. Okay. We're 24 feet now. Got our speed cut back down, so let me cut it down one more click there. All right, folks, that's, again, we just need, I know in a perfect situation, we'd just be catching fish left and right, one after another. And it's fun when that happens, right? But I'll tell you this, the times I've been over here previously, so again, my experience on Santee Cooper, very limited. But the times I've been here before, they weren't 20 fish days. I got good quality fish, but it was kind of, and I ended up that first trip there, I know on tournament I did really good. I got several fish, but it wasn't like lights out, just constant action. As you catch fish, you wait a while, you get another one, you wait a while, you get another one. That's kind of how it went. Now, I ended up with several good fish, but it wasn't, we never had like 3, 4 rods going down at once type thing. It wasn't ever like that. And so I'm okay with the quality over quantity. If we can just keep grinding out a bite, get a fish here and there, let me build some confidence in this area, and we'll see. Come tournament day, we'll see. But definitely, one 40-inch fish for sure. The fact that our first fish was 40 inches, that definitely helps build a little confidence for me with this being a potential tournament spot. One thing, though, to consider, hold on, let me see something here, y'all. Oh, good, okay. My mom texted me, and she doesn't normally text me when she knows I'm filming, but she's texted, "Cat's back, puny little thing." That's good. Let me take a side note to tell you about this cat. So, regular viewers, you've heard me talking about my neighbor who left all these cats when she moved. Well, now I've become the neighborhood cat lady because I took over feeding. I couldn't stand to see an animal starve. So I've been going to my neighbor's old house, feeding them. And one of them I've ended up kind of adopting. It was the sweetest cat. Them other cats, they wouldn't get near me. They would hiss at me, they'd run from me, they were scared. But one of the cats was super friendly. It was so sweet. And I didn't want it to go to the pound because my neighbor had originally said she was taking those cats to the pound before she moved. And so my buddy, Mark Naraki, he was looking for an outdoor cat because he's got a little farm there he's got going on with goats and chickens and all that. He was wanting a cat, like a barn cat type thing. Oh, dadgummit, I'm hung again back here, folks. Let's see if I can get this one out. I caught this one before it got too buried into it. Gosh, dang it. We ain't getting it out either. I got half of mine to break it off, to save us time from having to go back. Dadgummit. We're about to break this one off. I don't want to go back and we just got hung a minute ago and had to go back. I don't want to do it again. I just got everything back out. Dadgummit. Dadgummit. I want to say a bunch of cuss words right now, but I ain't going to. Some of y'all out there got virgin ears. Some of you out there might be children watching or something, but boy, I just know in my mind, even though I ain't saying it out loud, I'm thinking it in my mind. I'm saying some combination of words you wouldn't believe right now. Dadgummit. I've wrapped this line around my handle of my net here for my live bait net. Come on, motor. Let me speed the motor up here so it'll hopefully get the stretch out of the line. We'll pop this thing here in a second. Actually, I think we just pulled it free. Matter of fact, whatever we was in, we just pulled it out. We may have bent our hook to all to Hades, but we got it out. Let's reel it up here and take a look at it. I'm even more pissed off at this snag. It interrupted the cat story. Because I'm excited about another cat now. Hold on though, we had to reel up here. Let's make sure we still got bait. Let's make sure we got a, I'll tell you what too. Let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and switch that bluegill out. It's been out there over an hour now. Bluegill don't typically last that long anyway, so. That thing got all twisted up coming in like that too. Boy, y'all got a mess here with your line and everything, folks. There we go. That bluegill was half cockeye on there and it was getting pulled in sideways and whatnot and caused a bunch of line twist. Okay. Do this one just like we done the other. I'm just gonna cut the tail and put some slits in it. These are smaller bluegill that I got. I'd like to have some better bluegill. I'm not a fan of bluegill back home so much, but over here it's a good bait. Bluegill and chicken both are better baits here than what they are for me back home. Okay, there we go. Let's let out some line on that and be back in business here. So anyway, this cat, or cats plural, Neighbor says she's taking them to the pound. I work a deal with my friend Mark Naraki. He's going to take the friendly cat that I like. Well, hurricane comes. We don't take the cat over there because of that. I go out, or Mark goes out of town, then I go out of town. Well, anyway, I bond with this damn cat. And even though my girlfriend's allergic, I think she's kind of bonding with this cat a little bit too. So I've decided, I've decided I'm going to try to keep the friendly cat, right? Instead of taking it over to Mark's house. And I've been letting it in at night, and it's actually in my house right now while I'm gone. Hopefully that's going well. My mother, she's going over there and checking on it, make sure this thing ain't destroyed my house. But anyway, that's one of the cats. Well, the neighbor girl who had said she was taking the other cats, all them strays, whatever, to the pound, she never took the first one to the pound. She lied to me. She looked me right in the eye and lied to me. Typical woman. I shouldn't say that. My girlfriend's great. But nevertheless, the neighbor girl lied to me. She didn't take any of them cats. So I can't let an animal starve. So I've been going down there, dropping out food, feeding them, and I've got one of them coming to my house. They're all kind of, these cats, they wouldn't let me get near them. But because they know, I think we've built a little trust with each other, they're coming around a little bit. They're starting to trust me. Well, one of them looks to be healthy, and that one I've kind of got to pet it a little bit, but it don't fully trust me. The other two are very sickly. One of them more so than the other, but they're letting me pet them now. And so the really sickly one, he's got a breathing problem. He's not coming up to my house, but he's at least getting to eat because I've been taking food down there, and now I've got my mom going over there this week while I'm gone, dropping off food down there. But there's an orange one, and he's super skinny. Part of his ear's gone, his eyes are messed up, like he's had a hard life. He's been coming up the house, and he's kind of bonded with Daphne the dog. Like it's not scared of Daphne. Daphne, the problem with these cats is they run from Daphne, and then Daphne, if it runs, Daphne's gonna chase. Well, the cat that we're keeping, we're calling it Midnight. That's what the girlfriend named it. The cat that she don't want, that she's allergic to, she's named it. But the other cat, they're both used to Daphne now, so they're not running. And because they don't run, Daphne don't chase, and everybody's used to each other. But this little orange cat, man, it's skin and bones. It's got something wrong with it, I think. It's tugging on my heartstrings. And so I'd made a decision, when I get back home, I'm gonna take it to the vet, see what they can do for it, see if it's got some kind of illness that's treatable that's causing it to be skinny, or maybe it's just been starved. I don't know. Maybe it's got worms, whatever. Neither way, needless to say, I'm gonna take it to the vet and see what they can do. Now the other cat, Midnight, it probably needs to go to the vet too, but it looks healthy. And since we've been feeding it, bringing it in the house and stuff, like it's already putting on some weight. So it's doing real good. But the one outside right now, it's an orange cat. And it's got the most pitiful, it cries almost, is what it does. It almost cries. I'm gonna take it to the vet when I get home. That's priority number one, even before going and getting the new kayak, is taking that cat to the vet. So anyway, I say all of that to say that my mom had been over there the last 2 days and hadn't seen the cat, hadn't seen any of them. Because, she's been feeding them there on my porch there for the orange one that's been coming up, because it was sleeping in my porch chairs there before I had left. And she's been walking down there to the neighbor girl's house and dumping some food down there for the others. She ain't seen none of them cats. And they've been over there cleaning up that house, because some real estate company bought that house, and so I guess they're going to clean it up, fix it up, either rent it or sell it. So there was a concern that they might either take the cats to the pound, take them off somewhere, worse yet, possibly kill them. I mean, it ain't good if you're trying to rent or sell a house that you're fixing up. It ain't really good for business to have a bunch of stray cats around, right? So it was a concern that those people may do something with those cats. Well, my mom hasn't seen any cat out there in the last couple days, so I was like, well, crap, you know, they've set traps or something and caught these cats, and you know, and I was starting to kind of bond with that orange one and was going to take it to the vet and everything. Well, anyway, she texted, said it's back, so that's good news. The big fish already had got me in a good mood, but the fact that that cat is back is even better news. I'm going to end up with 2 cats, y'all. I went from having 0 cats, I'm going to end up with 2 cats before it's said and done. This orange one, you really got to watch when you go into the house because he's around your legs. He's going to try to run in. The neighbor girl was letting it in down there when she lived there. And half her damn windows in the house was busted out, so them cats, so she couldn't keep them out if she wanted to, but they were used to going in her house. And so I think it just assumes that it can come in my house too, but it's so sickly, I don't want to bring it in. And so we'll see what the vet says when I get back. Hopefully I'm going to win some money in this tournament and help offset the vet bills. Because you know how the vet is, man. They're going to stick it to you. They're going to do a bunch of tests that don't need to be done and sell you a bunch of salves and ointments and stuff that you probably don't need. And it's going to be, I'm sure they'll find a few $100s worth of stuff wrong with this damn cat. So hopefully I'm going to stick it to these fellas on tournament day with 3 fish like the one we just got, and save a cat that I don't need when I get home. So anyway, that's good news, folks. That's good news. I'm happy about that. And the other cat that's in my house right now didn't want to, I was on the fence about it. I was like, should I leave it outside while I'm gone? But then I was worried, like if the neighbor people's clean up, like if they do capture those cats and take them off, they might take that cat too. So I was like, I'm gonna leave it in the house. And so far though, I've had a good report. My mom's been over there checking on the place and no damage to the furniture. It ain't tore up nothing. Ain't been puking in the floor. It's using the litter box. So things are going well. Things are going well with that cat. So good news on that front. But what I was saying though, before all the mess happened here with the fish and the text and all that, what I think I was about to go into at least, was talking about bait. So every body of water is going to have certain baits that perform better than others, right? So back home, I fish Tennessee River. You cannot go wrong with skipjack 7 days a week, 365. You go out on the water with skipjack any day of the week, you're going to have a reasonable chance. Now, there are some baits that work better than others at certain times. For instance, if it's really cold out, if you got water temps in the 40s, I like shad better than I do skipjack. But you can still catch fish on skipjack. I typically do a little better with shad. Early spring, crappie is an amazing bait back home. Can you still catch fish with skipjack? Absolutely, but crappie kind of shines during that time period. Well, you come over here, body of water like this place don't have skipjack because they're not native to the South Carolina state. So other types of baits are what these fish are typically eating. You know, they're eating a lot of mussels over here. It's a primary forage for them. I think there's shad in here. There's bluegill, obviously, and there's white perch. And white perch is kind of, even though we ain't seen any today, they are a very prominent species. Last 2 times I fished here in previous years, I just fish for the perch where I was catfishing and pull them up 2 or 3 at a time. Today's kind of been a little bit of an exception. I'm honestly surprised we haven't run into some. But anyway, Kevin and I from Palmetto Cats had fished off the bank in the spot that I won the tournament from. And we were doing a live stream out there, and he got a monster fish, and it was on chicken. He swears something down was chicken. I thought, no, it must have been bluegill or something. No, it was chicken. But that chicken in places that have mussels, chicken does seem to do a little bit better, more so than what it does places like back home. So we've got some. We're out here trying it. Baits like bluegill, which I've used bluegill a lot back home because it is just a bait that's readily available. When I can't get skipjack or white bass, yellow bass, there's always bluegill around, right? So I've used bluegill a lot, and I've caught a lot of fish on bluegill. But what I don't typically get is good quality on bluegill. I typically get smaller fish, but over here, you get better quality fish. In that tournament there a few years ago, I got big fish on bluegill. And white perch, they kind of look like white bass back home as far as body style, as far as the kind of, they're not a real bloody bait. They're more of a oily bait than a bloody bait. They're kind of same kind of, they seem like the same type of body as a white bass, just smaller, significantly smaller. But I done really well on those previously over here. And so wherever you go, wherever it is that you're fishing, whatever body of water, you need to figure out what is it that they're eating? What are they naturally eating on that body of water? Now, you might could take, if it's legal, you might could take a bait like skipjack that's real bloody, real oily, throw it out there on a body of water where they don't exist and maybe catch some fish on it, sure. I mean, hell, we're throwing out chicken. Chicken doesn't exist down here in the water. And we ain't caught nothing on today, but people do catch fish on chicken. It's a popular bait throughout the catfishing community. But if you can figure out what it is fish are already eating and serve that to them on a platter, you got much greater likelihood of success. And so that's kind of one of the things that we're wanting to accomplish out here on pre-fishing is figure out which of these three bait options is going to perform the best. And, we've only got that one fish on the perch, so small sample size. But let's say we end up the day with 3 or 4 fish and they all come on perch. Or maybe we get the one on perch and the next one's all come on bluegill or something. Well, we're going to catch another one right here on the perch. Oh, buddy. Good timing. Apparently perch is where it's at. I was trying to say we'd hopefully figure out what bait we need to be putting out. This feels like another pretty good fish right here, man. He was taking line for sure. Nice. Another one on the lighter weight sinker too. I don't know if that has anything to do with the rig as so much as it does with the bait. And I think, honestly, we may be out of perch. I only got those 2 yesterday. I mostly spent the time catching bluegill around the dock because I thought for sure wherever we were at catfishing, we would find perch. But now that's 2. 2 on the perch. 2 fish here. That's, where are we at on time now? Hour and 2, okay, so 2 fish in an hour and a half, okay. I'm feeling better about that. We'll see what this one looks like. I think it's gonna be a pretty good specimen here. This spot's definitely, if this turns out to be a good fish, comparable size to the last one, and he certainly feels like he could be. He's swimming up here, buddy. He's swimming ahead of us now. This could definitely turn into a spot that we will consider for tournament day. It's a long run, as he's making a long run, taking some more line. I will definitely have to cut my tournament day short because of the distance I would have to get back to the car and make it to check-in. But if you could average one fish an hour of this quality, and you fish for 6 out of the 8 hours of the tournament, that's still, you're still going to be in contention. And we're fishing later in the morning here too. So tournament day, I'll be starting at 7 o'clock. Oh, I think this fish, I think he got in my front line. He just got in the bait line. Crap. He may have run my line through the motor too, potentially. That dang fish. This fish here's got a bad attitude, is what he's got. He's got a real bad attitude. And I hope he didn't get that in the prop up there, because if he did, we're along, well, I guess we could make a run over there to shore. But it ain't easy. What I'm getting at, it ain't easy. I'm gonna turn that prop off for a second till we get this fish under control and figure out where this line's at. Because you're out here in open water like this, it ain't real easy to get line out of your prop. It's kind of it's a real chore. This fish he's in, he's got both of our front lines. He's got our bait, the catfish line ain't a big deal. The bait line with that smaller braid, he'll have that mess all tangled up. We'll have to cut it. He's gonna be a good fish though. 24 feet deep. Let's get him up here and just get a look at him. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a whopper. That's a whopper. Golly whopper. And very welcome sight after what we went through yesterday. I think this one might be longer than the last one, actually. We'll throw him on the board, certainly. But I think he might be. We're gonna end up having all 4 lines because we're drifting backwards now since I turned the motor off. Nice, buddy, nice. Nice fish, that is a beast. Whoo, that one's definitely bigger than the last one, folks. Definitely. Look at that, he's got every damn line. You never know what you're gonna see around here, buddy. You don't know what you're gonna see around here, folks. You might see a professional at work one day and the next day, all 4 lines. Goodness. What a mess. There is some good news though. I'm pretty sure that's our last perch, but it's still on the line, or still on the hook, so we might get our bait back potentially. So there is some positive out of this. I gotta watch these other hooks. I don't want to end up wearing a hook today. Okay. What a mess. What a mess. I see my line though, so therefore I don't think it's in the motor. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh man, that's awesome. It ain't awesome on the tangle, but this is awesome. This is awesome. Okay, there's our mess right there. Let's just leave that there for the time being. I'm gonna turn my motor back on because I can see where my line is at and it is not in the motor at the present time. Now hopefully we don't run over our other dragging rod. Okay, all right folks. Let's do this again. Man, oh man, y'all, I'm confident this one's bigger than the other one. I'm confident it is. Call me a liar if I'm wrong. Oh, buddy. I'm telling you folks, this has got a real potential of where we need to be on tournament day. I almost hate to keep fishing it out here now. I don't want to potentially risk sticking all these fish a few days before the tournament. But I would say they're probably just kind of cruising through here periodically. You know, they're just moving along here. They're probably not just hanging out down there. Oh man, that's a beast. Yeah, this one is bigger on weight and length. I've got its head over here on the board, just shy of 44 inches. Look at the belly on that thing though. Oh man, that's a beast, buddy. Beast from the east, South Carolina, Santee Cooper. Y'all, we ain't tearing up the numbers of fish today. This is a beast, buddy. We'll call this fish Bam Bam Bigelow. Beast from the east. Yes. Yes. I am feeling so much better now. One fish, you can chalk it up to luck. Two fish, both on the dragging bait, both on the perch. Easy, easy. Oh, he just slapped me right in the ear. Let's get him out here. Oh. He's wild, buddy. Let's sit him out on this side. Get on, fish. Whoo! That fish fought back right there. He got me right in the ear. Worth it though, buddy. Worth it. Yes. Man, that's awesome. I can't tell you what a relief it is after getting just completely skunked yesterday. And here's what's even better about it, folks. We're out here, now granted, it's 24 feet deep, right? That's not deep compared to what you normally see me fish Tennessee River. You know, I'm fishing 60, 80, oftentimes over 100 feet deep back home. But the fact that we're getting the two fish we've got have come in the deeper water for this area. And it's an easy, so far, we've only been snagged twice in, less than 2 hours. So we're able to work pretty efficiently, other than me flapping my gums. We got all these lines out the water right here. But you know what I mean? Like, this is encouraging because it's more of what I kind of feel is my skill set, fishing the deeper water structure. So, nevertheless, y'all, I am feeling good all of a sudden. Let's see what we can do with this mess. Maybe we have to cut it and start over, or maybe we'll get a little bit lucky potentially. These blue cats, when they get in your line, get a fish swimming through another line, it ain't a big deal until they start rolling. And these blue cats, they all want to start rolling. And when they do that, they get everything all tangled up in such a way that you just can't hardly pick it out without having to cut it. But I think we're going to get lucky with this one potentially. If we can get this one right here undone, I want to go ahead and take that perch off there. That'll help. Yeah, I don't think this is going to end up being as bad as what it initially looked. I'm not good at a lot of things in life. Yeah, we got that one out. But I have gotten, fishing out of a kayak, especially fishing as many rods as what I used to do, I've gotten pretty good at picking out some tangles, folks. Like I've developed the skill set. Let's reel our bait rod in. I think we've caught our, I just thought we were done with it. Let's get this around. Lord, what have you done now? Okay. You come fishing with me, folks. It's always a damn adventure, ain't it? But you know what? We've got this thing untangled. We've got it untangled. We've now got two fish that are over 40 inches. I feel good about that. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, our two fish score, let's say 40 and 43 and a half or whatever, it's 83 and a half inches on two fish. Most of our tournaments, if you put up 120 inches, you're in contention to cash. Now over here, this is being a kind of a trophy fish. You know, I'm not going to drop this down very far this time. We're seeing all this stuff up here near the surface. We've went almost 2 hours now with this thing near the bottom. Let's just drop it down right in there and see what happens. Now let's reel this up, check it. Our chicken line here. Yeah, let's fix this. Might need a new piece. I don't know how long chicken's good for. Let's drop it down. And then I think we're ready to get our dragon baits out. Thankfully that fish was kind enough to give us the perch back. I will definitely be on a mission. With that being two fish now on the perch, you better believe I'm gonna be on a mission to get more perch. Once is an accident, twice is a pattern, as the saying goes. Let's fix this back. He has got the mouth of this thing all tore up, so let's just do this. Let's take our scissors and just cut that off. And we'll go in a little deeper and do the same thing. I'll leave them eyes on there for sure, though. All right, man. Okay, folks, we're in it. We're in it to win it. I went from having virtually zero confidence to now I feel like I've got a pretty solid plan for tournament day. We still got the rest of the day and tomorrow to find something better, figure out something else. I mean, I don't need constant action out here. I need 3 bites in 8 hours. Well, probably more, 6.5 hours if I fish here, just because of the amount of time. Our tournament, the hours run 7 to 3. We've then got an hour to make it back to our check-in location. So, before the tournament starts, you can get on the water early. Like, you don't have to leave the ramp at 7. And we can fish any public ramp on Marion or Moultrie, any public launch site. So I can get on the water as early as I need to make it out here to be ready to start fishing at 7 o'clock. But in order to make it back to check-in by 4, because inevitably I would end up several miles away from where I launch and then have to go slow going back when I get in all them weeds, I'm gonna have to compensate for that. I'm gonna have to prepare to to give myself time, because here's the thing. I don't care how good you've done, you can be winning the tournament. If you don't make it back to check-in on time, you're disqualified. So it's imperative that you make it back. You have to get back in time. So I definitely got a couple, look at that, I'm covered in slime, man. I feel it all over my ear too, where that fish slapped me. he slapped me right in the ear, buddy. So I wonder that fish didn't knock me out. If he'd got me in the neck, if he'd got me in the carotid instead of the ear, I'd have went to sleep out here for a second. I don't know, has anybody ever gotten knocked out by a catfish before? Does that ever happen to anybody? It's had to have happened. Somebody's held up a big fish and got tail slapped right in the carotid and blacked out for a second. Bear with me, I got snot coming out my nose here too, folks. There's either something at the hotel or something over here in nature that's got my sinuses messed up. Oh man, y'all. Please tell me this camera's running too. That'd be a worst case scenario right there. We don't have a camera rolling while we got all these fish going on. I'm gonna just I won't mess with this on tournament day. I'll open it up and leaving it open, but it annoys me on non-tournament days, so I don't ever bring it with me when I'm just regular fishing. Most time I wouldn't care. If I was just out here fun fishing, wouldn't give a damn how long them fish are, but with today using this ramp over here that I don't know, it may be a perfectly safe ramp. Or it may not. You just don't know when you go somewhere new. Yeah, I don't want to leave anything in the car really. But a normal day, if I was just out fun fishing, I wouldn't care how much a fish weighs, how long it is. But it is good to know for tournament purposes to kind of gauge. We know now we've got 83 and a half inches and 2 fish, so it's kind of a good barometer, if you will, to kind of what to, at least quality-wise, what to expect. So I'm filming this, day's 31st, Thursday, the tournament's Saturday, so these fish, I'm not a big fan of sticking fish right before a tournament. But the way we're getting them out here, kind of down in this cut with these 2 flats, because I'm gonna show you again. We're 25 feet deep right here now, by the way. Let me take the map card and show you. So to the left of us and to the right of us, you've got these flats, shallow flats. And then you've got this cut, and I'm kind of just going right down the middle of it, because where it drops off here and where it drops off here, the very bottom middle of it is kind of not very wide. So I'm just going right up through here, right up the middle. And what I would assume is that fish probably go up on them flats, they feed, they probably retreat back down to the deeper water. So the fish that we're getting, I wouldn't necessarily expect them to just be holding in one specific spot unless there just happens to be a clump of cypress stumps or something. Maybe they hang out on that for a little while. But I would expect them to kind of be all up in this area, all up in this channel, just as they move up and down through here before they go up and feed. And there's probably, I would expect places like, you see where it says roadbed right there? If there is any remnants of that old roadbed, the bottom composition is going to be different through there, right? So catfish will oftentimes follow that. They might follow that roadbed up onto what is now a flat that's been flooded. When you got these the way the contours come right here, you see how this creates a little point right here? And it's like a little funnel area. You might find fish that are kind of following that on up. You might even find fish possibly staged up off the tip of that point sometimes, or off the tip of this point. Those are all places to certainly investigate. But I think just us trolling up through here, dragging these baits, I think we're going to have a chance at any fish that have retreated back to the deeper water. And the fact that we're out here in a later part of the morning may actually help our cause, because you think of a fish, when are they going to be more likely to go up and feed on them shallow flats? Well, I would think at night or low light periods, either dawn or dusk. Probably going to retreat back to deeper water during the kind of the sunny time, the high noon. I don't know what time it is now, 11:47, so the sun's kind of almost right up overhead. And so I would expect them to kind of and that's just my experience. This body of water fish is certainly different than what I'm used to, but I would expect those fish to kind of go deeper during the peak sunny part of the day. So that may be helping our cause a little bit too. But man, I'm telling you what, I feel good. I mean, if we get 3 fish like that on tournament day, we got a real chance at either winning or at least cashing. And I mean, for Angler of the Year purposes, the only thing that can improve my score anymore is either getting first place or getting second place in big fish, because my lowest score is 99 points for a second place finish. So I guess technically I could get third place and big fish, which would give me, yeah, okay. So, if you get big fish, you're probably not going to finish lower than third. So there is a chance I could improve my score, but the main thing is just finishing ahead of Ryan. Yeah, that's the main thing. But I would like to, I'd like to cash in this thing. Kitty back home wants to go to the vet, folks. Kitty needs to go to the vet, get some worm medicine, get some salve for its eyes and its ears. Kitty needs attention. Now we got some fish. Look right down here. I'm going to drop our bait rig back down. Let's drop it down there. I can't believe, that's the biggest surprise of all. Catching a big catfish on Santee Cooper, it's like, well, that happens. Well, speaking of big catfish, look what's coming right there. I'm pretty sure that's one. Oh, he just nailed it. He nailed the chicken. We saw him. Eye in the sky. Eye in the sky, folks. We caught him in the act. We caught him in the act, literally. We saw him. I saw him coming on the screen. I was watching them small bait fish, and I saw that bigger mark coming up, and boom, he nails it. You talk about timing. He ain't very big, though. That ain't very big. That ate the chicken. I wonder if he come after them smaller fish that we saw there, and we had our chicken there as an easier meal potentially. I thought that was a bigger fish from what I saw on the screen. I suck at the live scope, man. I suck at it. I can't tell you what fish is what or what size they are or nothing on this damn thing. This one here, open up. I'm not gonna open my board up for him. We'll lay him across it. The board folds in half here at the 30-inch mark, so this fish is probably going to be longer than 30 inches, but we'll kind of get a rough estimate of what size he is, at least. I'd say he's probably 32, 33-inch range would be my guess. Okay, come on in here, fish. Won't you act like somebody and quit clamping down on my finger there? Let's just put him across there. Yeah, he exceeds the board by an inch or two there, so he's probably 31, 32-inch range. So add that to our score. That one there, for tournament day purposes, probably wouldn't do us much good, but see him right there on the damn screen, man. I saw him coming. And boom, he nailed it. That piece of chicken got it done. So we got 2 fish now on the perch, 1 on the chicken. The bluegill ain't done diddly thing for us, man. Let's get us another hunk of chicken on there. Again, this is just plain. Well, it's at least organic, I reckon. I didn't notice that when I got it. I got the cheapest chicken breast that Walmart had at the store. But we'll put a hunk of it on there, and you better believe if they want to eat it, I'm going to feed it to them. That was on the first one on the suspended rig too. I'll probably have out on tournament day probably 2 dragging rods and 2 suspending rods if I end up coming here. That's assuming I have plenty of bait. Now, if I don't have plenty of bait, I may have to throw out a bait rod potentially on tournament day. But if, well, hell, I put that chicken back in the cooler and left the rest of that breast. There we go. Probably what I'll do, I feel good about this spot now. I feel like we at least got a workable plan for tournament day. If I'm not able to get us any bait this afternoon, I would probably make tomorrow mostly a bait trip just to ensure that I have plenty of bait for our tournament. I'd like to go hit a different spot tomorrow, see if I can get on some more fish, get on some better quality potentially. Maybe find a place that I can start fishing that's closer to the launch, that's going to allow me having the lines in the water the most amount of time on tournament day. But I feel pretty good about this, man. Those 2 big fish in the first 2 hours, and you give me 6.5 hours out here to find another one, like that's. And tournament day, could be completely different, but the weather right now, the weather forecast is looking good. The wind out here very light today. The wind is looking very light the next 2 days, so whatever patterns we can figure out today or tomorrow, I would expect them to persist through tournament time. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling pumped up. So what we had, let's say 83.5 plus, let's call it 31, be conservative. So that's what, 114.5. That ain't a bad score, folks. That ain't bad. And I mean, let's be real, I haven't worked very efficiently out here. Tournament day, I would ideally have another suspended rod out. And, I would hopefully focus on getting baits out more than holding up the fish and all that and talking to you all on camera and whatnot. I'd try to work more efficiently on tournament day. I don't care out here a day like today, it don't matter, but tournament day you need to work efficiently. And speaking of that though, here's something else to consider, and this ain't a sexy topic, right? This ain't one of those topics that people's tuning in just to see this type of video. You couldn't do like a tournament tip type video and get any views on what I'm about to tell you. But it's very important if you are somebody who wants to fish a tournament or is considering it. And that is taking some time to figure out how you're going to get to tournament check-in from where you're at. I mean, just tantalizing subject to talk about, isn't it? But in these long-form videos like this, we got to talk about something, and this is important, so I'm going to talk to you about it, whether you fish tournaments or not. I just click off the video, I guess, if it don't pertain to you. But there's 2 mistakes that are very common that people make when they're fishing these tournaments. Because again, these tournaments, the way they work, we'll have boundaries at wherever body of water we're at. So for this tournament, all of Lake Marion, all of Lake Moultrie, public launch sites we can use. Tournament runs 7 to 3. We have 1 hour after the tournament lines out time to make it back to the check-in location. If we don't make it back, we disqualify. So there's two things that people who are kind of inexperienced, new to the tournament game, there's two mistakes that trip people up all the time. The first one, the big one, is how do you measure your fish? So the night before the tournament, we will have a board check. We have to go to a designated area the night before. Tournament director takes our measuring boards. He inspects them to make sure they're up to par with what's allowed in our tournaments. And then he will put a sticker on there. So for instance, the last tournament stickers from Louisiana are still on here. And he puts them on, he puts multiple stickers on for each tournament. So when we take a picture, we have to have those to make sure it's the same board that got checked, that those are matching up. But in addition to that, our pictures, we got to have a date stamp, we got to have a time stamp, GPS stamp, and when they're doing our board check, they give us an identifier, a unique tournament identifier the night before, and those have to be included in the picture. So you get a person who's new, they're in a tournament, they catch a big fish, they're excited about it. Obviously, man, there's money and ego on the line, and they've just caught a big fish. They're pumped up. Well, when you get real excited, sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you're not thinking. It's all the excitement going on. They put their fish on the board. Technically, the way the rules state, the fish has to be laying, blue cats anyway, have to be laying on their left side, on their right side with the left eye up, nose touching the board. Channel cats, same way. Flatheads have to be measured on their belly. You'd be surprised how many people's got the fish on the wrong side. Or they forget to put their tournament identifier in the picture. Those fish get tossed out. They get disqualified because they don't meet the photo requirements, right? So that's a common mistake that people make. And it's easy to do. You get excited. Hell, I made a mistake there last year. I was fishing on our Chickamauga tournament, and I've got the tournament video on my channel. I'm gonna kick back and relax again when the next fish hits. But I made a mistake. I was fishing off the bank, which is allowed in our tournament. I had pulled the kayak up onto the shore on this island, which, as long as we access the spot with our kayak, we are allowed to fish off the bank. I took advantage of that rule because the weather was going to be bad that day. I knew the wind was going to be up, and it was going to give me the best opportunity to have lines in the water for the duration of the tournament. So anyway, I found me a good spot on the bank. First fish I caught, nice flathead. I'm excited about it. I take my pictures, I submit it, let my fish go. A little while later, ring, 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 it's tournament director. It's like, man, I'm sorry, but I've got to disqualify your fish. I'm like, what the hell for? He's like, man, you're fishing on the bank. You got to have your kayak in the picture. That's part of the rule requirements for the photo submissions for our picture. Your kayak has to be visible. Well, when you're actually fishing in the kayak, that's easy, right? Because your kayak's always visible, so I don't even think about that rule. Well, fishing on the bank, I had pulled that fish. I'd laid my measuring board out on a flat area there on the bank, took my pictures. Kayak's nowhere in sight. So my fish gets disqualified. That knocks me down at the end of the day. That knocks me down from second place into third place. Cost me some money. And ultimately cost me Angler of the Year last year, because had I got that extra point for the second place versus the third, I would have got Angler of the Year. So costly mistake, but it happens. That's my point in all this. It happens. You get in a rush, you're not thinking about things, it happens. But here's another mistake that people make. And this one's easily avoided if you properly prepare. And it goes back to making it to check in on time. If you're 1 minute late, if you show up, if check-in's at 4, if you show up at 4:01, DQ. Don't matter if you had the winning score, you've now finished last place because you're late. And so what I like to do, and we've had people get disqualified for not making it back check-in before. It happens. You got to prepare. Now, some things you can't prepare for. You're on your way back, there's a wreck in front of you, all lanes of traffic are shut down. You cannot control that. That's out of your control. That happens. But if you are fishing a launch site that is a long ways away from where check-in's at, you've got to take that into consideration. If you've got an hour to make it there, you've got to factor in how far away on the water are you from the launch when the tournament ends? How long does it take you to get loaded up once you get back to the launch? Then how long does it take you to drive back to check-in? That's the basics. But there's other stuff you got to consider too. If you are putting in at a launch site, say it's a boat ramp, a nice boat ramp. If you're traveled somewhere to go to this tournament, you may not know the locals, the local routine. What if there's a bass tournament or a catfish tournament, a boat tournament going on out of that ramp? Well, guess what? Your tournament ends 3 o'clock, theirs probably does too, or somewhere thereabouts. So you may have to wait in line to use the ramp when you get back. That can cost you extra time. You've got to allow for that. If you're using a really nice boat ramp somewhere, you better factor in a few extra minutes in case you get stuck waiting behind some boats loading up at the end of the day. Then, your route that you're going to take from the launch site to the check-in. Is there any road construction going on? And here's a big one, are there any railroad tracks? Because you can you can go GPS and pull up and it might say, well, from the ramp to the check-in's 30 minutes. Okay, normal conditions. But what if you get stuck waiting behind railroad tracks for 10, 15 minutes while a train passes? You know what happens. It happens to me. I guarantee you it happens to you too. You get stuck waiting by a train. You have to prepare for those contingencies, for those possible scenarios, because if you don't, again, if you're 1 minute late, you're screwed. I don't care how good a day you've had, you're screwed. So one of the things that I'll be doing out here today, I'm going to have to figure out how long, for wherever we end up quitting fishing at today, from there back to the car, how long is that going to take? And then follow the route, and what I'll probably do when I leave here, since this is a potential tournament spot that I may end up coming back to, I will probably drive to the check-in tonight whenever I leave here and time it and see, are there railroad tracks? Is there any road construction? How long does it take me under normal conditions to get there? And that way I'll kind of have a ballpark idea on tournament day if I come back here. How early am I going to, and I guarantee you, I can't fish up till 3 o'clock because it'll probably take me an hour to get back from where we're at here. Especially since I'm gonna have to slow down going through them weeds and the stumps and everything. So, I mean, I'm really gonna have to consider, I'm gonna have to factor all that in. And that's one of those things that I think it's gotten some new people in the tournaments the last couple years. They don't think about that. Or the railroad tracks, or the road construction, or something just slows them down a little bit and you don't make it back. So, I mean, if you're not gonna cash in the tournament, it don't really matter. But if you are, it can knock you out of some money. So again, not a sexy topic. It's not one of those things. If I made a video on like a tournament tip type thing and had that in there, nobody's going to sit through it. But it's something that needs to be said for people who are interested in doing the tournaments. And I don't try to push tournament fishing on everybody. It ain't for everybody. Some people don't have a desire to do it. Honestly, just me personally, if I never fished another tournament again, my life's not going to be disrupted. And for me, it ain't, and this tournament group, it ain't so much about the tournaments, although I've done pretty well in them. I've turned a nice profit this year. But aside from that, I like the group of guys that fish this tournament. And so part of the fun for me is coming over here and beating Ryan and giving him hell. If any tournament I go to, if I can, like the last tournament there in Louisiana, all them guys out there in their motors, running all these rods, I show up in my pedal kayak fishing 2 rods and win the thing, you better believe I have talked so much crap. The trash talking has been on point for me ever since. I enjoy that. That's the part that's fun for me. Just tournament fishing for the sake of tournament fishing. You know, I don't, if I never fished another one again, I wouldn't miss it. Because, I mean, when tournament, you look at the days the tournaments are on, they're always on a weekend. The highest, it's usually a Saturday, the highest boat traffic day there is. On a tournament day, whatever the weather is, it's what the weather is. You got to roll with it. Whereas a normal fishing trip, I can kind of plan around weather and high wind days. I can fish non-peak hour times for as far as boat traffic goes, things like that. So, I mean, just as far as fun fishing goes, I can find a better day and time to fish than on a weekend tournament day. But the other parts of the tournament, the camaraderie aspect of it, that's enjoyable. And the fact that I've made several $1,000s this year, these tournaments, that certainly helps too. I've bought all my new toys with that tournament money. I got that new kayak that I'm going to get, got the money for it from these tournaments, the motor, like this. These fellows I'm fishing against in tournaments have bought my whole new setup. And I'll let them know about it too. I remind them every chance I get that they've bought me this stuff. But it is a good time. And we've got a pretty good group. I don't know how many people is going to fish this tournament. I would assume probably around 10 people, probably. A lot of the people in the tournament group, this is a nationwide trail. It's a national trail, it's called. But most of the people who fish it are from Ohio. So our last tournament there in Louisiana, for people that live in Ohio, for them to go all the way to Louisiana, that's a really long drive. And so a lot of them didn't make it, and we didn't have a particularly good turnout. This tournament here in South Carolina, again, super long drive for that core group of people in Ohio, and it's a little bit longer drive right now because we've got part of the interstate shut down that got washed out during the hurricane flooding. When that Hurricane Helene dumped all that rain there in the mountains, took out part of the interstate, which is going to be out of commission for probably a year or more from what they're saying. So you got to go an alternate route. And I know me personally, it took me an extra hour to get here coming from where I'm at. So they already had a long drive. Now it gets even longer. So I wouldn't expect, unless some of these Carolina guys actually show up, and there's several people over here that do a lot of kayak catfishing. They didn't show up to the North Carolina tournament last year, so I don't know if they'll show up to this one either. But I would suspect around 10 people probably for this tournament, which we've got, the tournament director's got sponsor money for it. Catfish Sumo's chipped in a bunch of money. Raccoon Creek Outfitters chipped in a bunch of money. King Cat themselves have put in money to it. So we've got it guaranteed. I mean, the last tournament there, we had 7 people in Louisiana. And I won. I got $1,690. I mean, that's a nice payout for a $150 entry fee, and only had to beat 6 other people. That's pretty good. And so it's worthwhile from a financial aspect if you can do well in these things. But I think we'll probably have around 10 people, be my guess. I know Ryan and Chris Minahan's already here. Adam Flegel, I think, got in last night. He's from Kansas. You talk about a long drive. He come all the way from Kansas, and he's fished every one of these tournaments. And they've all been, this year anyway, they've all been east of the Mississippi. Now, how it's going to work next year, here's a spoiler alert for those of you that follow along. Next year, things are going to get mixed up. So, the current plan, as I've last heard it, Things subject to change, obviously. But the current plan is next year they're going to have 2 divisions. You're going to have east of the Mississippi and west of the Mississippi. You're going to have 5 tournaments on each side. And I'm pretty sure, I think Adam Flegel, I think he's going to run the western side, west of the Mississippi side tournaments. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be, because he was the one that posted about it. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be him. He's a good dude, by the way. But anyway, next year, so 5 tournaments each side. In order to qualify for Angler of the Year, to have a chance at it, you're going to have to fish at least 1 tournament on the other side. So you got to fish 5 tournaments minimum. It'll still score our 5 best tournament scores. But at least one of those tournaments has to be fished on the opposite side that you live. So me, for instance, I live in Tennessee. I'm east of the Mississippi River. I will have to go west of the Mississippi River for at least 1 event in order to qualify for Angler of the Year. And vice versa. The people who live west will have to come east for at least 1 tournament. Now, there'll probably be some, I wouldn't be shocked at all if somebody like Adam or Andrew Green from Texas, they might go ahead and fish all of them. Because them fellas will drive 20 hours to come fish a tournament. I mean, they're dedicated, more so than me. Ryan Bort's he'll probably fish them all. Me, we'll see. We'll see. I probably won't do the whole 10 tournaments. I probably won't do that. But I'll probably fish a handful of them. And I may, depending on how I do on the east of the Mississippi tournaments, if it looks like I'm in contention to possibly compete for Angler of the Year again next year, well, then I would probably make the run and fish one of them tournaments that's farther away. Now, if I don't do worth a crap in the first 2 or 3 tournaments of the year on our side, well, then I'm probably not going to make that drive, unless it's just somewhere that I really want to go. And I've said before, I'm not big on traveling to catfish. I do it for these tournaments, but just me going and traveling somewhere for the sake of traveling somewhere. Oh, look right here, our bait rod. We finally got something. Please be a perch. I'd love to switch the perch that's on our other rod out with this one if it is. Watch it be another striper or a catfish. It's a catfish. It's a channel cat. You know what I got a half a mind to do right here? Cut him up, use him. I think we're going to use this thing. It's a tiny channel cat. I think I'm going to reel in the bluegill that ain't done nothing for us. And I'm going to put this catfish on. I'd like to have my hook back without getting bent up or tearing my gulp. If you'd open up, I'd have that hook. There we go. Yeah, folks. Yeah, I think he's going to be a bait. I kind of want to just, that bluegill we've got is so small. All the bluegill I've got are small. Let's try a piece of catfish. What's it take to catch a white perch today, man? The last 2 times I come here, you couldn't keep perch off your line. Today, you can't keep them on it. We're 27 feet now. I'm just going to drop this bait down a little bit. Y'all set up here a minute. I'll get people on YouTube all ticked off at me if I cut this thing up on camera at all. So it's just part of fishing. It is what it is. But nevertheless, I don't like channel cats. And he bit at the wrong time because we need some bait. So he's going to get it. We're going to have a significantly bigger piece of bait than the bluegill on. will put the rest of him in the cooler, and we will reel in our bluegill here and see what we can do with it. I have caught fish. I've caught catfish with catfish before. Not, again, it ain't my favorite bait, but I'll promise you this. A channel cat that's that small, if there is a bluegill, I mean a blue cat, a big blue cat like we've caught, in the vicinity of that fish, he's on the menu. I guarantee you some of them get eat. I caught fish last year. I got it on video. I pulled half-digested blue cats out of fish's mouths. I've got it on, I've got it on my channel. Like it's, boy, that line's all twisted up again. What is going on here? All right. So, catfish will eat catfish, folks. It happens, and I've got videos. I've got videos on my channel documenting it. One good thing, for sure, about using catfish as bait is it is a very tough bait. It's a very durable, I guess would be the word. You're not going to get it ripped off the hook by small fish. Now we're not having any issues out here with small fish today, pecking at our baits and stuff. That's not been a problem for us at all. But it's one of them things, if you're using a tough bait like a white bass, a catfish, small fish don't really, they'll nip it, they'll peck on it. They have a hard time ripping it off the hook. This catfish is like leather. It's hard to rip them off the hook. So we'll let out a little bit more line on this. Get my reel situated there. Now we'll let out some more line and see what we can do with that old catfish. When you're short on bait, folks, it's a bad time for a channel cat to bite your bait rod. If them stripers had been legal, you better believe I'd have put them down too. We got bees. Where the heck did the bees come from? Get. He's still over there buzzing. You a long way from shore, buddy. I'm about to swat that thing. I got my bee swatter right here. Knock that thing in the middle of next week. When that bee wakes up, that tournament will all be over. He'll see that I've won that thing. Old bee. He's up there on my motor cord now. The old thing. Where we at here? Well, it's time for another bite, ain't it? All right, I'm gonna flip this bail over, I reckon, here. Getting a little deeper. The water's fairly calm. I don't need to run in these things a super long distance behind us. There's that bee again. We got bees and flies. You never know what you're gonna see in South Carolina. That canal that I won the tournament in 5 years ago, there's alligators in that canal. Now, I didn't see any when I went out there a couple days ago. I didn't see any, but they're there, and there's some alligators here in South Carolina, buddy. They out here. I don't mess with no alligators. I don't like alligators. I sure wouldn't want to be. I can't imagine, like, and I guess it's probably a problem. Has to be. But if you live somewhere, let's say you in South Carolina or you in Florida, Louisiana, somewhere it has alligators, and they're on or near your property, maybe you live near a lake or a swamp or a pond or something, what do you do with your pets? Like, you let your dog out to go potty. Is the dog at risk? I mean, I'm sure alligators probably going to eat a dog. They're eating small animals. You'd have to, I guess people take that into consideration if they're living in an area with alligators. I saw was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. I was down there at the beach last year, year before, and I had been out on the water shark fishing, and I had caught some, so I knew there was some there in the area. And there was a boat that had anchored down out there, and they were swimming out there in that water, which, you see people swimming with sharks. I've seen the Shark Week shows on the Discovery Channel. We've all seen it. People with either less brains than me or bigger cojones than me, they get out there and they swim around with them sharks while they're scuba diving and stuff. You wouldn't catch me doing that, but it happens. They do it. That's humans. This particular boat, they were playing with their dog. And he would like toss the dog out into the water and it would swim back to the boat. He'd toss it back out again. And I'm thinking, dude, like, you're making a big splash when that dog hits the water. So you're getting the attention, like you're ringing the dinner bell for everything that's around there in that area. Because sound travels through water. Then that dog is dogs aren't natural swimmers. It's frantically kicking its way back to the boat. I'm like, man, that's stupid. Like, you gonna get that dog eaten. I thought that was kind of irresponsible of them to do that. But them people that live down there, hell, they swim in that water all the time. They go out there, and shark attacks are very infrequent. It's an uncommon thing when you think about. You always see the news reports, right? Like, so-and-so shark attack or X number of shark attacks, blah, 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 blah. But when you think about how many people are at the beaches, how many people are out in the water versus how many get bitten, it's a very small percentage. Like, it's very unlikely that that's going to happen. But I do feel like if you like those people that was just tossing their dog out in the water and letting it swim back to the boat, just playing with it, I guess, whatever, like. And they had a life jacket on the dog. It wasn't like they're just tossing it out there to drown it or anything. They had a life jacket on. It was clearly out on the boat with them regularly. But when you're doing that and there's sharks around, I have to believe at some point in time, somebody's rover, Sparky, has gotten eaten by a shark. It has had to have happened. I don't know what the percentages are, the statistics, but I'm willing to bet it ain't zero. So I'm not going to be out there swimming in that water. I've seen what is out there in that super shallow water. I've hooked what's out there. Hell, that resort we staying at, I'm going back down there here into November. What is that about? 3 weeks away? I'm about 3 weeks away from my Florida trip. Less than that by the time you're seeing this video. But I've rented a timeshare. I don't own a timeshare. I have no desire to ever own a timeshare. But I will rent other people's, so you can stay at a nice resort on the cheap. So I've rented a timeshare that we're going to go down to, and I've stayed there I stayed there 2 years ago. I went down there with my friend Elias V Fishing YouTube channel. He owns a timeshare down there. He's got like 3 weeks around Christmas. Him and his wife do. and they go down there every year. And so, what we got going on here? We got a snag going on. I thought it was, the line was, dadgummit. Okay, there it come. There it come, okay. Crisis averted. But anyway, the timeshare, I'd went down there with Elias, and then I had rented somebody else's week last year, and I've rented their week again for this year, for Thanksgiving week. But the property, and it's got a bunch of little villas all there. I think there's 20 like little villas. They're 2-bedroom, 2-bath. They're not the most luxurious accommodations, but the property is amazing. And so you've got your own little beach right there, and it's in the Keys, so all of them islands are very small. And so this property goes right up to the waterline. They got their own little launch there, so if you got a boat, or in my case, kayak, you can launch it right there and fish. And man, I hooked, and the video's on my channel. 2 years ago down there, I hooked a hammerhead. He's about, I don't know, 10 foot long, give or take. But I hooked him right behind where we're staying. I mean, right there, people swim out there. A damn hammerhead shark. And so, bottom line is this. I ain't swimming out there in that ocean. When I go to the beach, I will have my toes in the sand. I will walk along and let the water come up and hit my feet and ankles and stuff. Like, I'll walk there. But I ain't getting out there past more than knee deep, buddy. I ain't, because I know what hunts out there. And I ain't trying to be a statistic. I don't care if it is a fraction of a percent. I ain't trying to be it. So, I ain't doing it. But I am looking forward to going back down there. I think of all the places I've been in my life, the Florida Keys is probably my favorite place. Because it's beautiful. The fishing is amazing. You can't not catch fish down there. It's so diverse as far as the type of fish you can catch there. I mean, you can catch sharks, you can catch tarpon, a million different kinds of snapper that's very popular down there. There's snook. I mean, anything you want, you got an opportunity for it there. It's beautiful. And here's one of my favorite things about it, and this is kind of underrated. I don't hear anybody talk about this, but it's something I noticed the first time I was down there with Elias. This is my first time ever going to the Florida Keys. I noticed it right away. I guess because it's so far off the mainland of Florida, you don't have a bunch of light pollution. So when it gets dark at night, it's dark. I mean, you look up in the sky, you can see all the stars that you just don't normally see. Like, it was amazing. I mean, that was one of the first things. We went out there. There's a dock at this resort, and you can fish off of it, or people that bring their boats down, they can tie off their boats at this dock. And we were catching bait. We were catching pinfish right there off the dock to go use as bait. And of course, you can catch anything right there, and people's catching all kinds of stuff. But we walked down there that first night there after dark, and they've got lights set up on the, like, green lights, so you can see down in the water right there under the dock, which is pretty cool. But I'm telling you, you look up in the sky and it's that dark, like, you can just see things that you don't normally see because of all the light pollution. The street lights, the building lights, all that stuff. Like, it makes it, even if you're kind of out in the country per se, back home, there's still the surrounding city's lights. You can't see the things that you can see when you're somewhere that don't have all that. So it's pretty cool. But I think of all the places I've been, that's probably my favorite. I love it down there. The place we stay, I love it. It's just awesome. I'm looking forward to going back. I don't look forward to traveling, like as far as getting there, because it's a long drive. It's 13, 14 hours from my house down to there. So, I mean, it's a haul. It's a 2-day trip, because I ain't driving that. I did drive it all the full length coming back a couple years ago, but now it's a 2-day trip down and a 2-day trip back. I ain't doing that again. But totally worth it once you get down there. And I'm gonna go down a little early. My girlfriend's flying down. I'm gonna pick her up in Miami and drive the rest of the way down the Keys, but I'm gonna go down a little early. And I'm gonna fish on Lake Ida, which is an awesome lake there in West Palm on the mainland. You got peacock bass and giant bluegill. I'm gonna do that. And I may fish there locally on the mainland too, offshore. I'm taking my new Hobie Lynx kayak down there. So we'll see. We'll see what the weather or the wind forecast is like once I'm there. But I'm gonna go down a little early, fish there on the mainland of Florida. And my girlfriend, she's flying in. I'm gonna pick her up. We're gonna go on down the Keys. We'll spend a week. I'll drop her off at the airport on my way back, and then I think I'm probably going to maybe try to fish the Everglades too on the way back, if weather permits. We'll see. Yeah, it's all dependent upon that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that trip for sure. Not the drive, but looking forward to the trip. But I've been fortunate. You know, I've been some places in life, whether it be for work when I was travel nursing or just traveling to vacation. Like I've been, at least United States anyway, I've been around a little bit. And I think for sure Florida Keys is my favorite place. I really liked the Pacific Northwest. I worked up in Washington State. I think it was back in, I believe it was 2014, so 10 years ago. I worked up in Vancouver, Washington. Vancouver is up on the, it's on the lower, it's basically on the Washington-Oregon line. It's on the lower part of Washington State, and there's a river, I forget what, the Columbia River maybe? So you got Vancouver, Washington, whatever that river is, and then Portland, Oregon, right there. Boy, this wind all of a sudden is picking up out of this direction. I'm having trouble going the way I want to go here at the speed I want to go it. It's going to mess up our suspended bite for sure. Not that we've had a lot of action on the suspended bait. It won't mess with the dragging at all, but the suspended bait, we're going to be bouncing up and down here. I don't know where this wind come from all of a sudden. It just started up, just all of a sudden. Either way, we'll see if it calms down. If it keeps getting worse, no worse than it is, it probably won't affect our suspended bait if we get bit on the suspended bait again. But if it does get a little bit more choppy, we'll reel up that and just focus on the dragging, because we can let out more line and compensate for the chop with the dragging and keep everything pulling smoothly. I do need to lower this bait though. We're 29 feet here where we're at. Probably need to lower our bait rod too, even though I can't believe we ain't got no damn perch. Not a single perch today. What are the odds of that? How do you not catch perch? I don't know, but we've somehow not done it. At least not yet. Trying to get us steering this way. The motor's compensating and turning into the wind kinda, and having trouble keeping us going where we want to go. But anyway, Washington State and Oregon, that's another really cool place. Like, I wouldn't want to live there, but to just visit. Like, when I was up there for work, I went into Seattle, watched a ball game. I watched the Yankees played the Mariners while I was there. So I went there, I went to the ball game. I went to the Space Needle. I went to the Pike Street Market, they called it. It's like a fish market. They throw these fish across the store there or whatever. One of them tourist places. I wasn't too impressed with that, but it's one of the things that you go to say you've went. And that was all well and good. But what I really loved about Washington State was the scenery. It's up there in the mountains, which is beautiful. And the air up there, here in the South, where I live, it's always humid. So you can only see so far because of the humidity. But man, up there, the air is so crisp. You can see forever. So the mountains off in the background, like it's beautiful. And I went up to Mount St. Helens. That was the one that, I think it was 1980. It was right before I was born in 82, so a couple years before I was born. But the mountain blew up as volcano eruption. And just going up there, and of course you can drive up and look at the mountain and everything. And I mean, it's one of those places that you look at it, and to me it's like, man, this don't even seem real. Like the whole top of that mountain just blew off. Like you know it happened, but it's hard to believe it happened. But I'm looking right at it, and it's one of those places that you just stop, at least for me anyway. It was one of those places I just stopped and I looked and I just stared. And I mean, I don't know how long I was even there. I mean, it felt like probably forever, but I mean, just in amazement, just staring in amazement at what a beautiful sight this was. And just thinking about the power that it would have taken for that volcanic eruption. And of course, the people I was working with, I mean, a lot of them lived up there. And so they were there when it happened. And so they were able to tell me the stories of just firsthand experience of the volcanic ash falling down like snow. Like they had inches of what looked like snow in their yard, just volcanic ash and all that. So I mean, that was a pretty cool experience, and just one of those places that was just, I mean, I would totally go back in a second. I don't know what I would be up there for. Maybe sturgeon fishing. That's definitely a bucket list trip that I want to do, catch a big sturgeon from a kayak. They have those up there in Oregon. I'm pretty sure it's the Columbia River, I think it is, that separates Washington and Oregon right there on the state line. But I would totally go back in a second. And if I did, I would love to go back to Mount St. Helens just to look at it again, because it's just so beautiful. And if you do some hiking up there, there's a popular waterfall, Montaluma. I think it's like the largest waterfall in the planet, in the United States, I'm pretty sure. Tallest, I think is the word I'm looking for, not largest. Largest would probably be Niagara Falls, but tallest, I think I went to it, and it was okay, kind of touristy, but just walking on the hiking trails out there, because it's a different type of terrain. It's a different type of tree than what we have here. It just smells different. It looks different. It's just different, and everything. I'm just in amazement being out there. So that was a pretty cool place. That was a cool experience. I wouldn't want to live there. I mean, it was Vancouver was a nice enough town. I definitely wouldn't want to live in Portland, because it was kind of, it just wasn't my cup of tea. But you go across the river to Vancouver, totally different world, much nicer area. But yeah, that was one of those places. The Grand Canyon was another one. Years ago, I had went on a trip to Las Vegas, and when you go out there to Las Vegas, they got all kinds of like Grand Canyon sightseeing tours. They'll pick you up at your hotel and take you out. And the one we had went on, they picked us up at the hotel, take you in a van to a little airport. You fly out to an area on the Grand Canyon, then you're able to hike and they feed you lunch and all that stuff for a day. Then you come back home or they take you back to your hotel. It's a full day experience. And it is an experience. And you get on one of them little rinky-dink planes piloted by somebody that don't look like they could pass a drug test. Like, it's a bit of an experience. It was some butthole puckering, that's for sure. I don't have no fear of flying, like getting on an airplane that's a normal plane, even though Boeing's had all them problems this year, but I don't really have any fear of that. But getting on one of them little single engine or twin engine planes with somebody that don't look like they could pass a drug test, yeah, I'm a little nervous, ain't gonna lie, a little nervous on it. But we did that and we went out to the Grand Canyon. And it was another one of those situations where you're just looking out at the vastness of it and you're like, man, I feel small. Like human beings, we are so insignificant. We're very significant in our own little world, right? In our own houses, our own communities, whatnot. But when you go to a place in nature like that, and you're just staring out at it, and it's like, it's one of those times where you're just, at least for me anyway, where you're kind of just put in your place, where you're kind of just humbled in the moment, like, boy, I'm pretty insignificant. Like, this is just, it's amazing. So that was a pretty cool thing too. But I would think the places I've been, Florida Keys, definitely my favorite place to go, vacation-wise, for sure that I've been. And I do love going to Las Vegas too. I'm not a big gambler, but Vegas is just fun. There's something to do all the time in Las Vegas. I find Las Vegas to be a fairly inexpensive vacation to go on. I guess because I don't drink and I'm not into gambling, it's pretty cheap for me to go to Las Vegas, but I really like Las Vegas too. But I mean, from a fishing perspective, definitely Florida Keys. But the places I've been that just kind of take your breath away type places, Mount St. Helens and the Grand Canyon are both right up there at the top. Just take your breath away, like, just got to stare at it. Just got to stop what you're doing and just look. Just really, really unique places. And, you know, and the funny thing was, I mean, when I went to Seattle, when I was up there, I went to the ball game and I toured the stadium and cause they had a little, that was probably the most value-based thing I done up there. Now, if you ever go to Seattle, folks, go to the baseball stadium. You can tour it. Back then, this was 10 years ago, but it was $10. And you go there before the game, they take you around. You can walk around the stadium, the press box. They put you on the field. You can go out on the field in the dugouts. Like, it's a really cool experience for $10. So very cool thing. But I did that, but I mean, just being in Seattle, it's a city like anywhere else. They got their own thing, the Space Needle and the market or whatever. But I mean, it's still, at the end of the day, it's a city like everywhere else. But you go up to Mount St. Helens, and when I went up there was hardly anybody there. Like, I don't think it's a state park or national park, but I don't think it's very popular with tourists. It was one of them places that I for sure wanted to go. I'm like, man, volcano? Hell yeah, I want to go see a volcano. Where do I see that at anywhere? Unless you go to some exotic island. So sure, I wanted to go see that. But I don't think it's real popular up there. So, I mean, you can go up and, I mean, it's up in the mountains. I mean, it's in the wilderness, not really a lot around, but they've got their own little visitor center and whatnot, and you can watch a little movie of the volcano where they filmed it there blowing up. And I just thought it was a really cool experience. And if I ever find my way back to Washington State for some reason, I would love to go back. I don't know what I would ever be up there for again in my life, unless I just happen to go to Oregon to sturgeon fish or something like that. I remember it being a long flight because it's not like I could go directly from Knoxville to Portland or to Seattle. Like, you got to take some connecting flights to get there out of Knoxville. And so it's a ordeal getting up there. At the time, though, I was travel nursing, and so I took a contract up there. They, of course, arranged all the transportation stuff, and I just got a rental car while I worked and did that. I for sure wasn't going to drive up there that far away. But really cool experience. Highly recommend it if you're ever, for some reason, find yourself in the Washington State area. Here on the eastern side of the United States, I just don't know that we really have anything that's just, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff. We've got the Smoky Mountains, of course, and there's a lot of big cities and parks and museums. We've got stuff to do on the eastern side of the country. But I don't know that we really have anything that'll really just make you stop and just look and be like, wow. I don't know if we have any of that on the eastern part of the country. I mean, sure, when I'm down there in the Keys and I look up in the sky on a dark night and you see everything and it's like, that's pretty cool. But in theory, we should be able to see that everywhere if there wasn't so much damn light pollution. So that's not really something it's unique to that area because I don't have it anywhere else, but it's not like it shouldn't be unique. If our cities would turn the lights off at night, and honestly, I don't know why they don't. I mean, do we really need all the street lights? I mean, if you're in a type of city where people are walking, sure, I guess you do. But like my city, you know, I live outside of Knoxville, smaller city, getting bigger by the day with all the people moving here. But we got streetlights everywhere when you go through town. Ain't nobody walking out there at night in my city. Everybody drives everywhere. Nobody's walking anywhere. Why do we have streetlights for? That's just unnecessary. It creates all that light pollution, which, I mean, for most people, most of us, and myself, I'm certainly included in this, most of us have probably never really seen the sky. Well, at night anyway. When all the stars and everything lit up, most of us have never seen it. I had never seen it, really. And even down there in the Keys, like it's not going to be as good looking up as what it's going to be some other places, especially places maybe have like lesser humidity and stuff like that. But still, I mean, it was pretty awesome. And so I'd be willing to bet that most people, especially people that maybe haven't traveled, they live in the city and they haven't really traveled places in the country that are outside of maybe other cities, they've probably never seen the sky at night. I bet there's people that spent their whole lives never really seeing the sky at night. Outside of me going to the Keys, hell, I may never see the sky at night really lit up again. So, you know, I'm not the type of person that's going to be out in the wilderness. I'm not going to be doing no camping in these remote places that are untouched by the light. So the likelihood of me outside of going to the Keys, like it's just, the likelihood ain't very good for me. The wind seems to be slacking off a little bit. That's good. I'm just continuing on, folks, here. I'm going to fix my screen. We've dropped off to 30 feet. Let's drop this down. We can get a better view on that. We've still got some fish up here. I think those are probably shad, I would assume. I don't know. We've got some bigger marks right down here, like 25 foot. I mean, they're not catfish marks, but they're larger than the shad. So our bait rig is kind of down there in that area. If any of them happen to be something that would maybe bite, pull up the map here, you can kind of see what we're doing. We're just still continuing on through this little channel here. It just keeps going and going and going. It's getting progressively deeper as we get out, but you still got these flats on each side. It says flooded timber up here, so thankfully we've been dragging along now for a pretty good while. I don't want to jinx it, but we've been dragging a pretty good while and not been hung up. Boy, something jumped right over there, I think. Was that a mullet that jumped over there? Come completely out of the water. Like 2 or 3 feet in the air jumped up. I saw a mullet yesterday. But I'd like to switch out our baits. We got the catfish on this side. We've got a used up perch on this side, but I don't have any more perch. And the bluegill didn't do anything for us. So I thought for sure, man, I thought we'd have a cooler full of perch right now. I thought we'd be out here just catching them nonstop, just 2 or 3 at a time. I really thought by now we'd have another catfish rod in the water. And we ain't got the first perch, man. It's been I'm happy with how things have gone today as far as catching the big fish. I feel like we got at least a solid option for tournament day. But I'm very disappointed in the bait situation. Like, I'm gonna have to go today. I'm gonna have to find somewhere this afternoon, try to find us a perch. They're like, I talked them up in the beginning. Easiest fish on the face of the planet to catch when you're on them. Because they're so aggressive. Like, they're just, I'm gonna slow us down. Now we're moving 0.7. Keep trying to mess with our speed here with the wind hitting us from different directions. But when I've been on perch in the past, like, it's been anything you put down, they're all over it, man. They're attacking it like little piranhas down there. But boy, we ain't been on them today. That's for dang sure we ain't been on them. I'm gonna have to go find some though. That's gonna be, I guess, this afternoon's project. We're gonna have to, since we ain't getting bait out here while we're catfishing, I'm gonna have to go get us some bait. And then tomorrow, definitely gonna catfish in the morning. We'll see how long I do that. If I have to go, and I'd ideally like to go get us some bait anyway tomorrow afternoon, just to have it super fresh before the tournament. But if wherever I end up catfishing tomorrow, if I could catch bait out there like we're trying to do today, but if I could do that while we're actively catfishing, that would be a big help. It would let me catfish longer. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. It's the great unknown out here. I wasn't super confident for the first hour of this trip, and then boom, things changed in a hurry. I would definitely feel better about it. If we were getting more action than what we are, I would say for sure, like, yep, this is the place I'm coming on tournament day. But the fact that we're three cats to this point, what did we say, 114 and a half inches roughly. I still feel good about it for tournament day, but I'm not 100% sold on it. If I can find something better tomorrow, especially if it was a place that was closer to fishing, being able to fish where I'm going to launch, I would definitely rather do that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I still, too, here's another thing I want to do. I have yet to fish Lake Marion. Any of the times I have been to Santee Cooper, I have not fished Lake Marion. They say that Marion's got more flatheads and Moultrie's got more blues. You know, and I figure the best chance of winning the tournament's on Moultrie. But I'd like to fish Marion at some point. Just to say I've done it. Just to get out there and do it, you know. I think it's got a lot more standing timber and stumps and stuff like that. So it'd probably be a little bit more difficult for me to fish. There's a river that comes in at the top of it, or a canal or something. It looks very appealing. It's a long run to get to it from wherever you can launch at up there. There's a couple launch sites that you could access it, but you got to run about 2 miles before you even get to it. But if it had some flow to it, I would definitely be interested in that, because I mean, the lake-like conditions, you're pretty much dependent upon putting your baits, either bringing your baits by fish or having fish swim into your scent trail as they move along. If you got a river situation and you've got a little current to disperse your scent, then you can kind of use that to let that help guide the fish to you. And I don't know if they got any flow up there or not. That place I went yesterday, that canal, it had a sign up, said danger, turbulent water, but there was no flow at all coming out of there. So I don't know if it's a scheduled thing, if it's a seasonal thing. I don't know how that works. And there's that canal that goes from Lake Marion to Lake Moultrie. And I have fished there the first time, this would have been, I guess, 2019. I remember I fished there one day, and I didn't do any good, but I'm sure there's fish in there. There's got, if nothing else, at some point in time, I promise you there's fish in that canal. So I wouldn't mind checking it out again. So I'm not going to do that tomorrow, though. I think tomorrow, I'm definitely going to fish Moultrie tomorrow, because I'm pretty sure that's where I want to go on tournament day. I won't be coming back to this ramp tomorrow, though. I'm going to leave it be. If we end up coming here on tournament day, I definitely don't want to be here the day before the tournament. But we'll check out something tomorrow. Hopefully, the next video you see on my channel will either be tomorrow's trip or the tournament video. If the next video that pops up is a tournament video, well, then you know I didn't do worth a crap tomorrow. That'll be your telltale sign that things didn't go particularly well for me. And I feel like, man, it could go either way. It's a coin flip. I mean, getting skunked yesterday, having big fish today, like you're either on them or you ain't. And so, and here's something else I'll have to consider on tournament day. So, right now it's not an issue. The wind did kick up for a few minutes, but it's back to being calm again now. Tournament day, and the wind report looks good, but let's say it does kick up a little while. On a lake-like condition, like I will have to go into the wind to control my speed. So that's going to determine which direction I can go. I don't know how often it would happen, but boy, if the wind was blowing the other way, because like today, it was blowing this way, and we were going into it, and it kind of switched. It's kind of coming from this angle now. But if it was coming from the other way on tournament day, how awesome would that be? I could make my run first thing in the morning, come way out here, and then start working my way back to the car, which is that's ideally what you'd want to do anyway, because we can get on the water well before the tournament starts and get where you're going. That would be ideally what you want to do. But if the wind, if you were trolling the same direction the wind's blowing, you're not going to be able to control your speed very well. So we'll just kind of see. We'll kind of see on tournament day. If it's like this, we could probably go any direction we want. And that would be interesting too to see. In fact, I'm tempted right now, honestly. I'm tempted right now to turn around. Let's do that. Let's turn around. Because here's why. Because sometimes, this has been my experience on this, and some of y'all maybe can back me up. When you're trolling and you're dragging baits, there's been situations before where I've trolled into a cove or into a creek. Nothing. Don't get a bite. You turn around, you come back out, boom, rod's going down everywhere. You go back into it again, nothing. You turn around, come the other way, boom, rod's going down. It's like they want a bait going a certain direction. Like that's the only way they're going to hit it. Now, I know that probably seems dumb to a lot of you out there, but it's just, I've seen it happen so many times. We got a bunch of gnats here too. Boy, they're everywhere. We'll be eating gnats here trying to talk to y'all. But I've seen that happen so many times in the past where you get this directional bite. Like you have to have that bait moving a certain direction or else they're just not going to touch it. And so now I'm wondering, like, we know there's at least 3 cats out here in this little channel. We've caught them, at least 3. Could we go back the other way? And with the wind right now like it is, we can go any direction we want and be able to control our speed. Let's go back the other way. I'll start working my way back toward the car. It'll take me less time to get back. And then we'll see if we get some fish going this way. If we get more, we get less. Maybe it don't matter. Maybe it won't matter today. I don't know. But either way, like we got a long ways to go and a short time to get there, as the old Smokey and the Bandit song goes. But yeah, on tournament day, it's 8 hours. If I could go one way for 4 hours and turn and go back for 4 hours, that would allow me to fish longer because I would have less of a run. If I go 6 hours one direction, that's 3 miles at half a mile an hour. Plus, I'm about 2 miles away from the launch from where I started. So you're looking at a 5-mile run to get back. And you figure the kayak will go, I mean, going that distance, I won't be able to go full speed. I'll run my battery out. So let's say I'm going 3.5, 4 miles an hour on the way back. It's going to take over an hour to get back. And on tournament day, I'm gonna have to wrap up my day about 1 o'clock, 1:30 if I come out here on tournament day, just to be safe. So yeah, if tournament day would allow me to go 4 hours one direction, maybe 3 hours back the other direction, then pack it up early and go back, that would be ideal versus just continuing to go for 6 straight hours in one direction and have to make a super long run. It's a super long run no matter where you put in it. Here comes a boat out here. Filming this on a weekday, I didn't expect to see a bunch of boats out here, but I thought we'd see more than what we have. There's virtually nobody out here. I wonder if that ain't a sign of we in the wrong place. If you don't see anybody out there fishing, well, that's a sure sign that, but we know there's at least a couple big fish out here. It's nice, man. I can't tell you how much better I feel today. I mean, having been in town 2 days, the first spot there, choked out with weeds, can't fish. Go out yesterday, get skunked. Like, it's such a confidence booster to have a day that I've got slime literally just falling off me right now, like somebody's dandruff in the grocery store line in front of you. Like, that's awesome. It's such a confidence boost. And now I know for sure, like we've got a place we can at least come to on tournament day, regardless of how tomorrow goes. We can go on tournament day and have a realistic chance of catching fish. I'm gonna bump our speed up a little bit too on the way back and just see if we can't go a little faster. When we're catching fish at 0.5, I'm confident we could go down to like 0.3 and catch those same fish. But could we move a little faster and maybe trigger some other bites? I don't know if we could or not. But that's one of them things that on pre-fishing days I kind of want to check out. I'll tell you this, and I've told this story, and y'all can see it on video when it happened. But last year, we're over there at Kerr Lake, North Carolina. It's on the North Carolina-Virginia border for a tournament. And I was doing basically the same thing that I'm doing now. I was dragging two and suspending two baits and just covering water, just trying to figure out what it's going to take to catch fish and where and all that, pre-fishing. And I wasn't doing any good. I mean, I hadn't done worth a flip, man. It was just I was having a hard time. And the wind kept picking up, picking up, picking up. And I was like, man, I'm done. I'm tired of fighting the wind. I'm ready to go. So what I decided to do, I threw out my two dragging rods and I said, I'm just going to let the wind push me back toward the car. Because I'd been going into it and I said, I'm going to just let the wind take me back. I get back to the car, I'm going to load up, call it a day. And I didn't have no drift stock or nothing. So I'm just out there just drifting in the wind. And it had really kicked up. And so I'm drifting along and all of a sudden rod just goes over. I'm fighting that fish. I look down. I'm going over a mile an hour. Next thing, another rod down. I'm like, boy, them fish hit. I was going fast and them fish hit. So next day, I thought, I'm going to test that. I'm going to test that out because, again, once is an accident, twice is a pattern. That's a saying I live by. And I had gotten two fish going a mile an hour. So next day, I go out, work in a different area. Oh, it's on my channel. I started out, I was dragging 0.5. Wasn't getting bit. I kick the speed up like 0.8. Boom, rod goes down. I go along some more, catching that fish. I slow back down, like 0.5 again. I ain't getting bit, I ain't catching nothing. I speed up again, boom, catching fish. There was something about the speed. If I wasn't going at least 0.8, I couldn't get a bite. 0.8 to 1 mile an hour was as close to a magic number as far as trolling speed as you could get, because there was something about it that was just triggering those bites. And so we went out there on tournament day. I trolled, I dragged baits all day. I fished 2 rods. I don't, because you can't troll with suspended baits at 0.8, 1 mile an hour. You just can't. You can't control your depth. They're going to come up in the water column as you move along. So I was just dragging only, dragging exclusively, 2 rods. But I didn't let my speed go below 0.8 all day on tournament day, and I ended up winning. I won the dang tournament. And it was all because of the speed. That was the only thing that changed was the speed. And I figured that out almost by accident. Really, it was by accident, because I was just tired of fighting the damn wind. And I said, I'm just going to let it blow me back to the car. And next thing I know, I got rods going down. I look at my graph, and I'm like, well, hell, I'm moving over a mile an hour. Boy, that's odd. And then I go out the next day and test that out, and there was something about it. They wanted a faster moving bait at that time. So, nevertheless, we'll kick it up 0.6 or so here. If I didn't need to try to catch bait, I hear a bald eagle somewhere over there. So One of them birds flying up in the sky. I hear him. I don't know. I got the fancy pants microphone on. I don't know if y'all can hear him that far away. Them bald eagles, you always know when it's them. They got that unique sound. But, and we've got one fish on the suspended rod. So I don't want to go much faster than we are now. We're going to be moving a little quicker. But tomorrow I will definitely play with the speed a little more. Maybe this afternoon too. See, it depends on how long it takes me to get bait this afternoon. But definitely play with that. I just, right now I want to kind of know, I think dragging, I mean, we got both of our biggest fish dragging. But we did get that other one on the suspended, and we've been running, of the baits we've had, chicken's definitely my least confident bait. But we did get that one on the suspended rod on the chicken. So if I had better bait on the suspended rod, maybe things are different. I don't know. But it's definitely something we need to check on is speed. If we end up dragging on tournament day, we want to have our speed dialed in before we get out here. And that's one of them things, I mean, there's people I know of, every time they go out, if they're dragging baits, they're 0.5. And you can live with 0.5, man. If there was like some rule that just said, you got to pick one speed to drag at the rest of your life, 0.5 is where it's at, folks. Because you'll cover a fair amount of water. I mean, in theory, half a mile an hour, if you're fishing 8 hours, you can cover 4 miles. That's a big stretch. So you can cover a fair amount of water at that speed, and you're going to get a pretty significant amount of bites over the course of time. Now, there are days where you need to go a little slower, and there's days like the North Carolina trip, you need to go a little faster. And that comes from just playing around on the water, kind of dialing things in and figuring it out. But if you're somebody out there and you don't want to mess around, you just want to go fishing. You don't want to have to think, you don't want to have to try to dial anything in. You just want to go out, enjoy a day on the water. Throw some bait in, whatever happens, happens. 0.5, that's where it's at, man. Goes another boat. I talked about how we wasn't seeing no boats out here, and I've apparently conjured a couple up. These bass fishermen, man, with all the weeds that I went through to get out here, it seems like that would be a frog fisherman's paradise. Because it just seems like you could work them frogs through the grass and have a reasonable chance of catching something. But yeah, for the catfish, man, half a mile an hour, you really can't go wrong with that. But there are times when speed matters. And on those days, you're either going to have that right speed dialed in or you just ain't going to catch nothing. That may have been my problem yesterday, possibly. I don't know. Or maybe there just wasn't no fish there. These two bodies of water, Marion and Moultrie, are both so big. I mean, there's a lot of places that fish could hide out here. I mean, you get up on these flats when this channel, I look at this channel, it's fairly easy to fish. Because you're in between these two flats and it's not particularly wide at the deepest part. Like, it's easy for us to fish this. But if we were up on these flats, and I don't know if we could be up on these or not, or they may be covered in grass too for all I know, out this far, but you get up on flats, when fish do move up on them, they're on the move. They're chasing bait. They could be anywhere. And so, with flats as big as these are, I mean, this whole area here, I mean, you can barely see the bank over there on the other side, and that's well over a mile away over there. Fish, man, when you're up on them flats and you're trolling around, like, you got to get a little bit lucky to come in contact with those fish, because they could be anywhere up there. And I just don't, again, that's not my cup of tea. That's not my strong point. I like reading the map and picking out places that fish are going to have to move through my baits. And if I set up on a flat, there's nowhere I could set up on there that I can ensure fish are going to be swimming through my baits. So you got to be on the move. You got to be. And then that kind of leads back into the whole planer board thing by spreading your baits out, kind of a spray and pray mentality. Cover as much water as you possibly can. And, you know, because that's not my game, and I'm going to be competing in a tournament with people who do that all the time, who are really good at it and really proficient at it, like, I'd really rather be in a situation where I could put my strength against their strength versus my weakness against their strength, if that makes sense. So something like this, if we know we can catch fish doing what we're doing right now, like, this kind of plays into what I like to do, what I'm confident in. I don't know how things are going to shake out on tournament day, but I definitely feel better now with how things have gone. It's definitely slowed down here, probably because of our bait. I got to get us some more perch. So far, the catfish ain't tempting nothing. The other perch that we've got on here, of course, the other fish had chomped it, so a lot of the blood and the oil probably got dispersed when it got chomped on, and whatever was left, but as long as we've been running it around over here now, it's past time it needs to be switched out. I don't know really how long you should run chicken before it kind of bleeds out. But I ain't got no more perch in that bag. I got bluegill, and they ain't done no good for us, and they're small. I will get us some perch, though. I will do it. I'll find us some. If nothing else, I'll go back up there where I got them at yesterday. There'll be some more around. I didn't spend much time with it there yesterday. I mean, the only time, I had the bait rod down while I was drifting, and that's where I got them at. But then once I started moving through the shallows, I pulled my bait rod up, and then I just threw the ultralight there around the dock. Got some bluegill. But them perch, man, they'll be schooled up, and if you can get on them, you can catch a bunch of them in a hurry. Like, you can get on some perch, man. It was 2 and 3 at a time when I was here before, so we just got to get on them. And surprisingly, I guess ain't come across any out here. Them schools that we've seen, I don't know what they are. They could be shad. Could be baby stripers. I mean, we got a couple of them. So maybe it's striper fry. I don't know if striper, I guess they're stocked in here, but I don't know, do they breed in here too? Or are they just exclusively stocked? I don't know the answer to that. I remember I caught a fairly large one. I don't remember if it was the first time or the second time over here. I got a pretty good striper. I can't remember. Can't remember what trip that was. I gotta get me a drink, y'all. Whatever is, thankfully my nose ain't pouring right now, but I've had all that drainage and my throat's a little dry. Dry and raw. Kind of like this video. I'm staying in a town called Somerville while I'm over here. It's a reasonable drive from here. At the Cambria Hotel, which parking is kind of a challenge, but I just take up 3 spots. They don't have pull-through spaces at that hotel, so I'm having to take up 3 spots. But the hotel don't seem to care because there's work trucks there and they're doing the same thing too. It's a fairly nice hotel, especially for the price. Seems safe, knock on wood. I ain't had any issues yet, and I've left, well, I take my graph off and put it in that hatch, but I leave the motor on, and my cooler, it's on here, and my gear and the hatches and stuff, I just left everything be, and I ain't had no issues yet. When I get the new trailer, assuming I do, it's going to have a storage box on it, and so I'll be able to put some of my gear in it and be able to lock it up. Oh. I think that's a snag. Let's see if we can pop this thing free. Yeah, we'll come over it. Now, if you can get, that's a tip I'll give you. I've said it before in other videos where I've dragged, but it's very helpful. When you see that you're about to get in a snag, your rod's starting to load up. If you'll grab your rod before it gets fully in that snag, give it some slack and then raise straight up, oftentimes you'll pop your sinker up and over it. But if you, here we go again, we're in it again, in something else. If you let it load up and get real tight on there, usually that's when you got to go back. So right then, I felt it come up and over. But if you let your rod just double over into that snag, you're going to have to go back and get it, or you're going to have to break off one. We're definitely coming through a rough patch right here. I don't know what it is we're dragging through, but I feel it. I don't really see anything on the screen. I mean, it looks pretty bare down here, but I can definitely feel us coming through a rougher bottom there. Maybe a rocky bottom potentially. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's a harder bottom. Ain't it crazy though? Look out over here in this direction. You can't even see land looking that way. You can see a big factory of some kind. I see the smokestacks, but when you look over that direction, you can't even see the land. That's how big this lake is. Like, it's just, we could fish over here the rest of our lives, and there would be places that we would never get to over here. We just couldn't access it in a kayak. The boats can run, certainly, they can run wherever. They've got no limitations. But for us, for our purposes here in the kayak, we are kind of limited on range. And, you know, some people would argue that that's a flaw of the kayaks. That's one of the downsides of fishing out of a kayak is you're limited in range. And it certainly is. I mean, at times, like the Mississippi River trip there in Louisiana, like that was frustrating to have so many places you'd like to fish and can't get to any of them because there's just nowhere to put in. But for the most part, when you take a lake like this, for instance, where you can't access the whole lake, but you do have quite a few access spots that you can use. It's kind of, I don't know how to say, it's like I don't necessarily feel limited because I can't get everywhere that I might want to go. I feel like it almost kind of sometimes helps me to fish better because of the limitation. Like when we come out here, for instance, we made that long run from the launch to get out here where we started fishing. By damn, I was committed to fishing the spot, regardless of how it turned out today. And thankfully, it turned out pretty well. Not for numbers, but at least for quality. But like, I was going to fish here regardless because I had committed to fishing here. Like when you make that long run, like you're pot committed, as the old poker saying goes. Like you got to see it through. Now, if we were in a boat, we run out here, we fish for 30 minutes an hour, and it ain't going well. You start playing mind games with yourself. You're like, oh, well, let's run over here. Let's reel up and run over here. And you do that, and you're just constantly on the move all day, switching spots. I think that kind of hurts you. Unless you just stumble into some fish, but you end up spending all your day running around not having lines in. Out here where we've been, with the exception of the fish tangling up our lines and me running my mouth a little bit, and then when we got snagged and had to go back for it, like, for the most part, we've had baits in the water the whole time we've been out here. And so I think that helps you. I think that helps you catch more fish over the course of time, but it's having baits in the water in productive areas. The people in boats will probably argue with that. They like that mobility and being able to run all over the place and fish anywhere they want. And I get that, but I feel like there's probably been a lot of times throughout the years where I ended up catching fish on days that I would have pulled the plug on had I had the option to do so. If it hadn't have been so far away from where I launched, or if I had an outboard that I could fire up and go run across the lake or the river, and I've just had to, because I didn't have that, I've just had to catch fish where I'm at, make it work. I feel like that's led to me catching a lot of extra fish through the years. Just grinding it out, making it work. And places, I mean, you'll find places that look good on a map that just never hold fish. Don't know why that is, but there's places back home I have fished countless times, can't get a bite on. Looks perfect on a map, you never catch a fish there. Have no idea why. But most of the time, if you find a place on a map that looks like it should hold some fish, or it's going to have fish working through, if you just put in time to those spots, you usually get bit. Now, over the course of time, you may figure out that seasonally there's more fish there at certain times than others, or whatnot. But, you know, for the most part, if you find a place that looks good on the map, most of the time you're going to catch some fish there. And even though Santee Cooper is known for being kind of a shallow water fishery, so we got another little snag trying to happen. There we come, right over it. Even though this place is known as being a shallow water fishery, when I see something like that on the map, I don't even know what it is. Honestly, I guess just a little channel comes out through here. Like I see something like that. I'm like, boy, that looks good. These flats off the side. I mean, it looks like a place, even though it's the deeper water in there. Like, and it's a shallow water fishery. Everybody says Justin fish shallow. Like, there ought to be something out there. And the fact that we got them two fish out here tells me there's probably fish up in the shallows going up there to feed. And I may, before I go back, I'm going to get up there and look and see if there's covered in weeds all the way out here. Because coming out the back, I mean, I'm serious, it was just so thick with weeds. And it's not like it's a patch of grass here, an open area, and another patch. Like, it's just solid grass everywhere. It's like, imagine your yard, except underwater. Like, that's what it was. Like, you're not dragging through that. And when the water's 7 feet deep and there's weeds 6 foot tall under there, it's like you can't, unless you're just fishing your bait on the surface, what are you going to do? So, I don't know if it's like that out here on the sides or not. I'll get up there and look before I leave and figure out what's going on. And I really need some damn perch. I wonder, there's got to be a reason. You go to these little bait shops around here and they'll sell like frozen mullet, they'll sell blueback herring, live blueback herring. stuff like that. Nobody sells perch. I don't know if they don't sell them because it's not legal to sell them, or is it because they're typically just so easy to catch there wouldn't be any reason for people to buy them. I don't know, but you don't find nobody around here that sells any. I'm gonna have me some though. I'm gonna find them. That's this afternoon's project. Whenever we're done fishing here, our goal is to go find some perch. I ain't gonna film that because y'all probably don't. I'm tired of talking today. My throat's dry as it is. I'm gonna rest the vocal cord. I'll try to film tomorrow. How far? We probably ain't got much camera battery. Oh, we don't have much camera battery left. We're running out of camera battery as it is here. I'll charge everything back up. I get the hotel tonight. One thing about these trips, I do enjoy sleeping a little more just because of when I fish back home, most of my trips are about 4 hours, 5 at the most. When I go on a road trip somewhere, I feel compelled to fish longer. I feel like I've got to take it all in. And so I end up putting in longer hours, and my butt and my back sitting this long just pays the price for it. And so it's always nice to lay down at the end of the night, get back to the hotel and stuff. But hopefully when I get that new kayak, I'm hoping I can set that seat up a little taller than this one. This seat here in the Hobie is comfortable, but it sets down a little lower than what I would like. I would like to have my hips and my knees at the same level. When I'm sitting in a kayak seat where my hips set below my knees, over the course of the time, it wears on me a little bit. I ain't as young as I used to be and can't tolerate it as long. The days of 12-hour trips in the kayak and doing that multiple days in a row, those are over. Now I'm trying to get snagged over here again is what I'm trying to do apparently. I didn't see that one in time. I let that one load up. We'll see if we get lucky here. I just felt the kayak moving. Yep, we did. Got lucky. Come right out. But yeah, now I try to just work efficiently in the kayak. Try to catch my fish in 3, 4, 5 hours and call it a day. Over here on these trips though, I end up, we went down there to Louisiana, man. I was between fishing and trying to catch bait. Man, it was like, in the driving time, it was like sunrise to sundown. I was wore out when I got home. Needed a vacation from the vacation. It's like that and go to Las Vegas too though. And I ain't even fishing. There's so much to do out there and you walking so much. All them casinos are so big. You walking around and you exhausted when you get in. Although when we went to, oh God, are we hung again? Boy, whatever we're pulling through. Oh, I see right there. Look at that. Look right there. You see that? That was a stump right there. We're coming across some stumps down here. There we go. I saw that on the screen. There were some stumps going by, which our baits will be getting to those stumps here in a minute. We'll be hung again here in a second. That's what it is, though. Yeah, I felt it coming through some more. It was definitely, though, a switch in the bottom. It felt like it was a rough bottom there earlier we were pulling through. I wonder if it wasn't either a rocky bottom or maybe was going through shell bed or something like that. Them big fish we caught though, they're here for a reason, man. There's food nearby for them. Even though we ain't had no perch out here today, there's food here for them. We've seen some smaller schools of bait. There's clearly stuff up on the flats, I'm sure. There's food out here for them. It's not been a lights out day for numbers thus far, but it's at least been good quality on the fish that we've got. And so I'm always happy with getting quality fish over just numbers of fish. But especially when you look at it from a tournament perspective, where I ultimately need 3 fish. That's all I need. If I get 3 bites on tournament day and they're all 40 plus inches, I'm cool with that. Here's another, right there's another stump. You see it? It's just a few feet off the bottom. There's another one. We're pulling through some stuff right here. I'm surprised the other one over there hasn't gotten caught up in it too. That is that lighter sinker over there on the other side. If it has anything to play into it with or not. The sinkers I make, and I got that link down in the video description, you'll learn how to make them. They're homemade, they're cheap, it's easy to do. They do really well except pulling through wood. And I ain't found a sinker yet that'll pull through wood very good. Like they all seem to struggle pulling through timber. But nevertheless, we've accomplished the mission today. If we don't get another bite, and I hope we do, we've accomplished the mission of we've proven that we can catch fish out here. We know we need some perch. So far, all the fish we got was coming the other direction. Not that that plays into anything or not, but at least so far going this direction, we ain't got anything. We ain't got a bite in a couple of hours, so maybe there was a morning bite situation going on and we got on the tail end of it possibly because I got out here so late. That's possible too. I don't typically like fishing this time of day. It's 1:38 right now, so I don't like fishing this time of day anywhere on any body of water this time of day usually. With the sun being directly overhead, it's just usually not a productive time. I don't know if that's played into it with the lack of action here in the last hour or two with us or not. I don't know. May or may not have, but one of them things you play mind games with. But you know, you come out on tournament day, the tournament starts at 7. We know we were getting bit before 11 o'clock. So we'll have 4 hours then, for sure. Kind of in that time period. And I feel pretty good about it, man. I feel pretty good. I don't think we'll get skunked on tournament day. After yesterday, I was like, boy, how bad would it be if I got skunked on tournament day? I've been fortunate thus far with the tournaments I've fished. I've been competitive in all of them. The last 2 years, this national trail, everywhere I've went, I've been competitive. Haven't cashed in all of them, certainly. I've had some middle of the pack finishes on some of them, but I've been competitive. I've caught fish everywhere I went. I've got a limit everywhere I went. I don't want to break that streak out here on the last tournament of the year. But I think we'll catch fish on tournament day. Just a matter of can we get the right fish? You'd think them Carolina people that live over here would try to jackpot this tournament. Jackpotters is what they call in the bass fishing world when there's a tournament trail going around. Some of the people will fish all the tournaments, right? They follow the tournament trail. But then there's other people that will fish one tournament, and it's the tournament on their home water because they're out there all the time. They kind of know what the bite is, where to go, and all that. And so they call them jackpotters. You'd think these people that live over here and fish this area regularly would try to jump in this tournament and cash a big check, since they've got knowledge and experience that people like me and some of the other fellas traveling from several hours away don't have. That bee landed on my foot. He's back. Get out of here, bee. I'll swat you with that damn cutting board. I'll knock him in the middle of next week, buddy. I'm gonna get him. See, you bring out the stick, buddy, and the children get in line. B, he knew what was good for him. He got on. Now he's back again. He's taunting me now. Oh, B. Put the board back, he'll come again. What time is it again? 1:38, 1:42. I got a long run to get back to the car. Here's what I'm thinking, folks. I gotta tell you all bye here soon anyway, because the battery's about dead. But I think I'm gonna reel up. I think I am. I think I'm gonna reel up. I've seen enough out of this spot. I'd like to catch more fish. I don't need to catch more fish though, because we've seen enough out of it. We know we can get some bites here. We know there's the fish that are here are good quality. What I need is bait. And I've got a long run to get back to the car, and I think I'd kind of like to go where I was at yesterday, although the catfishing sucked yesterday. I think I can get some perch there, because I at least got them others that we started with. I got them there, and if I'd put more time into it, I'd have probably had more. I just didn't. Hell, yesterday I didn't care, because I had this belief in my mind anywhere I went I was going to catch perch. So I wasn't real concerned about it. But now I'm concerned. So I'd like to go get some perch. And so I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to I got to go all the way back over here to this corner where I launched at. And so I think I'm going to reel up. I'm going to head back. I'm going to stop somewhere, get out of the kayak for a little while, get a bite to eat. And then this afternoon, go and see if I can locate us some perch to start. That way we can start tomorrow. And I'll certainly put out a bait rod tomorrow wherever we end up fishing and see if I can get snagged here before we go, apparently. But I'd like to at least have some perch to get started with tomorrow, right off the bat. And we'll be ready to go on that. But yeah, hopefully the next video you see will be a video from tomorrow, which will be my last pre-fishing session before the tournament. If the next video you see is the tournament video, well then you automatically know pre-fishing tomorrow didn't go well. And if by chance you don't see a tournament video, boy, then things just went bad, folks. Things just went bad is all I know to tell you. But my plan is to film tomorrow. My plan is to film on tournament day, and hopefully we get some fish. Hopefully we do well. Hopefully we win Angler of the Year. Cashing a check from that regardless, like I said. So we're walking out of South Carolina a winner Saturday night. We're going home with extra cash in our pocket regardless. But I'd like to cash in this tournament and win Angler of the Year and win a little bit more cash too. So anyway, I'm gonna quit flapping my gums. I'm gonna reel up. We're gonna head out of here. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you next one. Thanks for coming with me today. These road trips, buddy, they're always a gamble. So thanks for supporting me. Thanks for coming with me. I'm glad we got on some big fish today.